Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 1 of our story. If you like this what if story and want to see part 2, let me know in the comments below. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also, check the description for more great content and my playlist. This story was posted by Random Bullshit 9 on Wattpad. Now let's start. Izumi Midoriya sat in the sterile, child-friendly waiting room of Mizutofu General Hospital with the expression of a woman caught in the eye of a hurricane, smiling as if trying to convince herself this was normal. She was holding a coloring book, or what was left of it, in one hand, and her daughter's left shoe in the other. The child it belonged to was currently climbing a window like a caffeine-drunk squirrel in a tutu. Izumi, please get down from there. Nope. I'm climbing to space. If I touch the clouds, I can become queen of the sky frogs. Ribbit. Inko winced as her 3-year-old daughter leapt off the windowsill, performed what suspiciously resembled a parkour roll, then popped up holding a crayon like a samurai blade. Touché, floor. You win this round, Izumi whispered to the linoleum as if they had an ongoing rivalry. A nurse behind the counter tried to keep a straight face. Inko let out a deep sigh. I swear to All Might, if one more person calls her spirited, I'm going to throw a desk. This was their 4th pediatrician in 2 months. The first 2 had recommended less sugar, the 3rd had gently suggested parenting classes, and the 4th had literally written, child exhibits behavior consistent with a cane-fueled goblin, on her evaluation form before excusing herself for a stress migraine. Izumi, to her credit, was never mean or cruel. In fact, she was so sweet it gave Inko a toothache. She'd hug random strangers and call them sad beans, then offer to build them jetpacks made of marshmallows. But her mind wouldn't stop. It ran on hyperdrive, a constant overflow of ideas, questions, movement, and chaos. It wasn't just that she couldn't sit still, Izumi couldn't exist still. And worst of all, she was brilliant. Like, terrifyingly, world-bendingly brilliant. At 2.5 years old, she'd rebuilt Inko's blender into a makeshift particle separator, then tried to use it to get the sadness out of pickles. So now, they were here, referred to Mizutofu's top neurological development specialist, Dr. Hisashi Sano. He had a reputation for bluntness, sleepless eyes, and coffee breath that could peel paint. But if anyone could figure out what was going on inside her daughter's head, it was him. 1 hour later, consultation room 3, Izumi sat cross-legged on the floor surrounded by puzzles she'd already solved, toys she had disassembled to see their squeaky souls, and a very anxious-looking stuffed bear that now had wires coming out of its head. Don't worry, Mr. Barrington, Izumi whispered. You will live to squeak again. I'm uploading a better screen chip. Dr. Sano watched her with a raised brow while flipping through a thick stack of test results. Midoriya-san, he began, deadpan. Have you ever heard of quirk-induced hypercognitive DSFNCTN? Inko clutched her purse. No, is that bad? He gave her a flat look. Your daughter has the 2nd most severe case of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder in recorded history. Inko blinked. Oh. She's a neurological supernova in toddler form. Her brain scans show frontal lobe activity nearing twice the average level of Nizu, principle of UA. What? Inko leaned forward. That Nizu, the hypergenius animal. Yes, he said. Your daughter's IQ isn't just high. It's unquantifiable by normal child metrics. She completed a problem-solving sequence designed for adults with PhDs in under 6 minutes. Then she set it on fire and said she was bored. She said it needed more sparkles and moral ambiguity, Inko mumbled, half to herself. The doctor sighed, placing a sympathetic hand on the file. Her brain is running on 10 lanes of traffic in a city where everyone else has 2. She has nearly twice the functional processing of Nizu. And her quirk is why. Inko stiffened. So it is a quirk. Yes. A rare cognitive amplification quirk. We're calling it NeuroNova for now. It supercharges her neural activity, particularly in problem-solving, prediction, and information synthesis. But it has side effects. Severe ones. Like her ADHD. Exactly, he said. It's not environmental. It's not even chemical imbalance in the usual sense. Her brain is constantly flooding itself with neurotransmitters and electrical signals. The ADHD is the byproduct of her mind outrunning itself. So what do we do? 𝐮𝐸𝐲 whispered. You'll need to see a specialist in quirk-related neurodivergence. We've contacted one already. But in the meantime, structure will help. Routines. Sensory regulation. Also, emotional support animals. I recommend something small, calm, and resilient. 𝐮𝐸𝐲 blinked. Like a cat. Exactly. Just then, Izumi slammed a toy plane into the table, giggling. I remade the plane into a friendship missile. It delivers hugs through kinetic impact. The bear squeaked. Dr. Sano rubbed his temples. You'll also need patience. A lot of patience. Possibly wine. Later that day, Midoriya apartment 𝐮𝐸𝐲 watched as Izumi rocketed across the living room, trailing colored ribbons like a manic carnival sprite. Her new cat, a strange, calm rescue named Machi, sat on the couch like a bored queen. And then, miracle of miracles, Izumi stopped. She gently tiptoed over to the cat, curled around her, and began to purr softly, mimicking her. The ribbons fell. Her muscles relaxed. Her eyes fluttered shut. Mommy, Izumi mumbled. Machi's magic. 𝐮𝐸𝐲 felt tears prick the corners of her eyes. Maybe, just maybe it would be okay. Machi blinked slowly at her as if to say, you're welcome. Also, feed me. HPSC memo, level 3 restricted, subject. Midoriya, Izumi classification. Cognitive class A anomaly quirk. NeuroNova, cognitive overclocking/unstable notes. Subject exhibits signs of volatile quirk instability manifesting as hyperneural ADHD. Emotional regulation is erratic. Requires long-term monitoring. Recommend early hero course evaluation. Additional anomaly. Cat appears to possess unclassified calming effect. May require separate investigation. Summary. Midoriya, Izumi may be the most intellectually advanced child alive. She is also a sugar-powered serotonin warhead who thinks the moon is made of shy cheese. Proceed with caution and a sense of humor. Muzutafu Cognitive Quirk Support Clinic was a quiet, tasteful building with pastel walls, noise-canceling floors, and the faint scent of lavender oil wafting through the air like a desperate plea for peace. Dr. Shizuka Hanamiya, child psychologist and quirk specialist therapist, stood in her spacious office, everything perfectly balanced, from the aromatherapy diffuser to the corner bookshelf labeled, Healing with Hope. She was 30 years old, top of her class from Tokyo Medical, and a respected researcher in quirk-induced neurodivergence. Her walls were covered in framed certifications, her voice was a soothing alto, and her motto was printed in an elegant calligraphy plaque. Every mind is a garden. I am merely here to help it grow. 10 minutes into meeting Izumi Midoriya, Dr. Hanamiya seriously considered setting her garden on fire and moving to a quiet cave in Okinawa. Session start, 9 a.m. Izumi burst into the office like a glitter-fueled storm, dressed in a purple tutu over camo breathes, her favorite mismatched high-top sneakers, one of which squeaked ominously, and a superhero cape made from an old pillowcase. She had 3 pencil sharpeners, a kazoo, and a bag of M&Ms she insisted were for emotional emergencies. Hello. Are you the brain lady? She yelled. Shizuka blinked. Dr. Hanamiya. You must be Dash. I am Izumi the Magnificent, she announced, pirouetting on one foot. I have arrived to fix your sadness and possibly your Wi-Fi. 𝐮𝐸𝐲 bowed so hard she nearly face-planted. I'm so sorry, she had chocolate milk on the way here and Dash. No worries, Shizuka said with a strained smile. Why don't we all sit Dash? Izumi had already climbed onto her desk. Do you think time is real or just God's screensaver? The therapist blinked. I'm sorry, what? Also, is it true cats can see ghosts, and if so, is that why Machi keeps staring at the lamp like it owes him money? 𝐮𝐸𝐲 looked like she was dying inside. Shizuka forced a chuckle. Izumi-chan, why don't we start with some drawing? That's a fun way to learn how you're feeling. Okay. Izumi screamed with delight, grabbed a crayon in each hand, and drew 5 pictures at once. One of a giant brain holding a sword, one of a tree made of jelly, one that looked suspiciously like a goat's sacrifice, one of 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐸𝐵 fighting God with a frying pan, and one that just said, "Run," in large red letters. This one's my emotional landscape. She beamed. Shizuka blinked at the page. This is a battle mech labeled Therapy Gundam, firing missiles made of empathy at a black hole. Yeah, that's my anxiety. He's a little guy, but he's working on himself. Session 9:15 a.m. All right, Izumi-san, Shizuka said gently. Let's do a calming exercise. We're going to breathe in and out. Izumi nodded. She inhaled, exhaled, inhaled again, then screamed at the top of her lungs, I just remembered that jellyfish exist and they have no brains, and that makes me mad. 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵 slapped her own face. Izumi, she hissed. Dr. Hanamiya is trying to help you calm down. I am calm, Izumi said, flopping upside down over the therapy couch like a noodle possessed by the Holy Spirit. This is my neutral position. Dr. Hanamiya looked at her clock. 12 minutes had passed. It felt like a year. Session 9:30 a.m. Let's try the feeling chart, Shizuka said, already subtly Googling jobs that don't involve children, under her desk. Can you point to the face that shows how you feel today? Izumi stared at the chart with intense focus, then pointed to 4 faces simultaneously. I feel like a happy, sad, excited tornado that's also in love with science and afraid of spoons. 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵 froze. Wait, afraid of dash. Spoons are just flat forks with secrets. Shizuka opened her desk drawer and wordlessly removed every spoon she could find, like she was trying to defuse a bomb. Then, in a quiet voice filled with the weight of 1,000 regrets, she asked, Do you always feel like your brain is going fast? Izumi nodded solemnly. Like it's racing on a hamster wheel powered by ideas and maybe also bees. Do you ever feel like you can't turn it off? Nope. But I can redirect it. Shizuka leaned forward, eyes hopeful. Really? How? Izumi pulled a massive red button out of her backpack. It had wires. It blinked. 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵 shrieked. Izumi no, not the button dash. Izumi slammed it. A siren went off in the hallway. Confetti exploded from the ceiling vent. A robotic voice announced, Party mode engaged, someone outside screamed. Shizuka calmly pressed her emergency panic button under the desk. Session 9:45 a.m. The janitor was cleaning glitter off a therapy horse. Shizuka sat on her therapy couch, her mascara slightly smudged, a cold cup of tea in her hand, and a faraway look in her eyes like she had just watched a civilization fall. 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵 bowed again. I'm so sorry, she has these episodes dash. No, it's fine, Shizuka said in a voice that was absolutely not fine. She looked at Izumi, who was currently trying to use paperclips to make a grappling hook. Izumi, she asked, do you ever feel like people don't understand you? Izumi stopped. She looked up, blinked, then nodded. Slowly. Yeah, she whispered. They think I'm too much. But I'm not trying to be. I just all the time. And I don't know how to stop. Shizuka froze. And for a moment, there it was, the ache beneath the chaos. The exhaustion in those emerald eyes. The loneliness of being too fast for a slow world. She took a breath. Izumi, you're not too much. You're just a lot. And that's okay. You're not broken. You're just built differently. We'll help you learn how to drive that brain, not crash it. Izumi's face lit up like a sunrise. Like a tank. Shizuka laughed. Exactly like a tank. Session 10 a.m. As they left, 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵 thanked her again, clutching the new packet of sensory regulation worksheets like a life raft. Shizuka smiled and waved, then slowly closed the door. She turned to her desk, looked at the glitter bomb crater in the carpet, picked up the emergency party siren and tossed it in the trash. Then opened her laptop and typed into Google, how to fake your own death and move to Hokkaido anonymously. HPSC Therapy Observation Memo. Subject: Midoriya, Izumi. Session 1, Therapist, Dr. Shizuka Hanamiya. Notes: Subject exhibits rapid cycling attention, hyperlogic improvisation, emotionally charged metaphors e.g., anxiety is a screaming raccoon, and full-spectrum sensory outbursts. Therapist experienced emotional exhaustion and brief existential crisis. Recovered after tea. Subject responded well to validation, structure, and the concept of being a brain tank. Recommendation: weekly therapy. Sensory regulation tools. Emotional grounding practices. Therapist hazard pay. Possibly snacks. Therapist comment: this child is either going to save the world or accidentally rewire it into a sentient toaster. God help us all. 𝐮𝐬𝐬𝐵 Midoriya had survived childbirth, sleep deprivation, a 3-year-old Izumi's attempt to build a trebuchet out of high chairs, and a glitter-related fire incident that nearly burned down the neighbor's shed. But nothing prepared her for introducing Izumi to the 𝐒𝐲𝐻. You sure about this, 𝐮𝐬𝐬𝐵? Mitsuki 𝐒𝐲𝐻 asked, leaning against the front door of her well-kept home. Her white blonde hair was tied back in a loose braid, her piercings glinting under the sunlight. Your girl's a bit of a whirlwind, huh? 𝐮𝐬𝐬𝐵 smiled tightly. She's passionate. Behind Mitsuki, a faint thud could be heard, followed by a muffled, I don't need friends, I have explosions. Mitsuki rolled her eyes. Katsuki's also passionate. 𝐮𝐬𝐬𝐵 handed her a peace offering, a small tin of lavender cookies. May the gods have mercy on us all. The 𝐒𝐲𝐻 residence, 11 a.m. The front door creaked open. And Izumi Midoriya stormed inside like a raccoon with a plan. She wore a sparkly bomber jacket covered in motivational patches like, Bite Your Destiny, and, emotionally unstable, yet still iconic, a tutu over cargo breeds again because fashion, and carried a hand-drawn map titled, Mission, Friendship Acquisition, Target, 𝐒𝐲𝐻, Hello. I'm Izumi and I brought Machi. She announced to no one in particular, holding up her support cat in a baby HS strapped to her chest. Machi, somehow immune to the chaos, blinked in sleepy resignation. Monsieur 𝐒𝐲𝐻, kind, quiet, and long-suffering husband to a firecracker of a wife and the father of an emotional grenade, peered from behind a newspaper and offered a week. Welcome. Then, from the hallway, a voice boomed, Who the hell are you and why is there a cat on your chest? Katsuki 𝐒𝐲𝐻, age 4, emerged like a mini kaiju of fury, sporting a shirt that read, Bite Me, and a scowl that could melt tungsten. He stopped short. There she stood, a tiny goblin girl who radiated energy like a solar flare, eyes wide, smile weaponized, arms open like an incoming hurricane of love and personal space violations. Izumi gasped. Oh my god. Katsuki blinked. What? You're perfect, she said with the reverence of someone who'd just seen a living anime protagonist. You have resting murder face, spiky hair, and you scream like an angry microwave. You're like if a porcupine had unresolved issues. He sputtered. What did you just dash? I'm adopting you, Izumi declared. Effective immediately. I don't want to be adopted dash. Too late, she said, already circling him like a velociraptor. Do you like snacks? I brought emotional M&Ms. What's your favorite animal? I bet it's something mean with claws. Do you want to build a rocket launcher that shoots glitter? I have plans. Katsuki looked to his mother like a drowning man begging for rescue. Mitsuki sipped her coffee and offered no mercy. You're on your own, boom boy. 00 p.m. Chaos tea time. 𝐮𝐬𝐬𝐵 and Mitsuki sat in the kitchen, sipping tea and occasionally flinching as crashes echoed from the playroom. Izumi's never had a playdate before, 𝐮𝐬𝐬𝐵 admitted. She doesn't play, she conquers, Mitsuki said, laughing. Poor Katsuki's an alpha type 2. This'll either end in BLD or lifelong trauma bonding. Or both. In the next room, Katsuki was screaming. I'm not your sidekick. You're not. Izumi shouted back. You're my 𝐒𝐻𝐬𝐵 main character. I'm gonna blow you up. I will hug you through the flames. Masaru walked in with Machi now curled up in his lap. They've gone from arguing to designing a death ray. Mitsuki raised an eyebrow. Together? Yeah. Oh god, they're synergizing. 00 p.m. mission. Cooperation sort of, alright, Izumi said, eyes gleaming. This is Operation Boom Cuddle. You make the noise, I provide the support cat and snacks. We destroy capitalism. Katsuki frowned. I don't know what capitalism is. But that's step 1. He folded his arms. You're weird. Izumi beamed. Thanks. That wasn't a compliment. It was in my heart. Katsuki huffed, looking away. But his face was red, and when Izumi offered him a glittery sticker labeled, Certified Explosion Buddy, he didn't throw it away. He just quietly stuck it to his shirt. 00 p.m. The unholy alliance Mitsuki peeked into the room expecting war. Instead, she found the kids working on something terrifying. I built the outer chassis, Katsuki said, smug. It's flame-resistant. I designed the interior with mood lighting. Izumi added, balancing blueprints on her head. We call it the friendship tank. Masaru whispered, should we be concerned? Inko took a picture. I'm sending this to her therapist. She'll cry. 30 p.m. Friendship complete. As Inko gathered Izumi's things and removed a wrench from her coat pocket, Izumi turned to Katsuki with deadly sincerity. From this day forth, we are emotionally bound by fate. Katsuki blinked. What? You're my best friend now. It's a legal contract. If anyone tries to bully you, I'll bite their ankles. If you're sad, I'll let you hold Machi. If you die, I die. You're stuck with me forever. He scowled. I don't need protection. Izumi grinned. I didn't say you needed me. I said you have me. Katsuki turned redder than a volcano. Don't say weird syrupy like that. You'll get used to it, she chirped. We're trauma bonding. He opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. And, with all the energy of a boy who'd realized resistance was futile, muttered. But I'm the boss. You're the co-boss, she corrected sweetly. Keith. But when she hugged him, a big, all-consuming, way too much hug, he didn't pull away. Not right away. Later that night, Katsuki sat on his bed, still wearing the Explosion Buddy sticker. He picked at it. Scowled. Mitsuki poked her head in. So you survive? He growled. She's annoying. Yep. She talks like a crazy person. She does. She smells like sugar and chaos. She's 4. She said she'd kill capitalism. Mitsuki blinked. That one's new. Katsuki turned over and mumbled, she brought me snacks. Meanwhile, Izumi lay in bed, wide-eyed, her head buzzing like a radio tower. Mama. Yes, sweetie. I made a new friend today. I know, baby. I think he's broken inside. Inko paused. What do you mean? He growls a lot. Like a sad lion. But I'm gonna fix it. With hugs. And stickers. Inko kissed her forehead. Just don't smother him. Izumi grinned sleepily. No promises. Location, Aldra Little Stars preschool time. 8 a.m. status, normal. For now, preschool was supposed to be a place for nap time, glitter macaroni crafts, and learning how to ask for help without screaming. It was not, traditionally, a battleground for territory, existential bonding, and psychological warfare via sticker distribution. But then again, most preschools didn't have Izumi Midoriya. The arrival Inko Midoriya stood outside Aldra Little Stars, clutching Izumi's glittery unicorn backpack like it was a holy relic. She's just very enthusiastic, she whispered to the preschool teacher with a manic smile. Miss Azome, the poor teacher barely in her late 20s, nodded like someone on the edge of spiritual awakening or a mental breakdown. I read the intake forms, she said. Multiple times. We have the protocol. Inko gave her a look that was part apology, part surrender. God be with you. Then, from the car, Izumi emerged with Katsuki Bakugo dragging behind her like a reluctant sled dog. Come on, boom buddy, she cheered. It's our first day of shaping society through play-based learning. I'm not your buddy, he growled, face red. And what the hell does that even mean? It means we are here to make friends and assert dems with kindness. Also, they have finger paint. Miss Azome stepped forward, already trembling. Izumi immediately gasped and pointed at her. You have glitter in your hair. You are blessed by the craft gods. Miss 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚 blinked. It's lice treatment. Oh, 30 a.m., day 0. By the time the bell rang, Izumi had rearranged the art station into a battle fort. Tried to introduce Machi the cat to a confused class guinea pig. Declared nap time a capitalist scam. And stuck a motivational sticker to every teacher, desk, and child she could reach. Katsuki was already in a corner with a juice box, staring at the chaos like a man remembering them. He sipped slowly, like someone who had seen too much. That's when she walked in. 45 a.m., Target acquired 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲, age 4, had been dropped off quietly by her parents. Her uniform was immaculately pressed. Her tea thermos was clutched like a lifeline. Her posture was the definition of "please don't look at me." Her entire aura radiated "I just want to read and leave quietly." She didn't know what hit her. Izumi spotted her like a hawk spotting prey. New person. Katsuki didn't even look up. Oh no. Izumi zeroed in. I'm Izumi. What's your name? Your hair is super pretty and your eyes look like they know everything. Are you secretly a god? 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚 flinched, holding her thermos like a shield. I'm 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚. That's so cool, Izumi said, inches from her face. Do you have a quirk? 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐽 hesitated. Only if I drink tea. Izumi gasped. You are literally a magical girl. Katsuki finally looked over, sighed like a dying soldier, and muttered, Don't resist. There is no escape from an extrovert. 𝐒𝐮𝐽 stared at him. Then at Izumi. The friendship bracelet being tied around her wrist. I didn't agree to this dash. You don't have to, Izumi said, sparkling with menace. You're part of the party now. 15 im. Coordinated chaos. The teachers tried. But they were outmatched. Izumi was leading the class in a reenactment of the hero's journey with finger puppets. Katsuki had started helping because she kept messing up the explosion scenes. 𝐒𝐮𝐽, now sitting beside them sipping oolong tea, was taking notes on everything with a dry, emotionless expression like a war tactician studying unpredictable superweapons. I've calculated a 92% chance this ends in property damage, 𝐒𝐮𝐽 muttered. Only 92%. Katsuki asked, smirking. She's pacing herself. 00 a.m. Teacher's lounge emergency. Miss 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐚 sat at the break room table, shaking slightly. She built a full-scale siege engine out of popsicle sticks. The assistant teacher, Mr. Nara, looked pale. I found one of them giving an inspirational speech to the toy bin. They weaponized stickers. I have one on my back that says, You can't spell legendary without me. The janitor, who had survived 30 years in the district, lit a cigarette without even leaving the building. You don't understand. She made Bakugo smile. There was silence. That's impossible, Mr. Nara whispered. I saw it with my own eyes. 30 a.m. The triumvirate forms. It was during juice box break that the final transformation took place. Izumi leaned back, juice mustache across her face. This is the best day ever. 𝐒𝐮𝐽 sipped from her thermos. I haven't cried once. This is new. Katsuki, sitting between them, narrowed his eyes. If either of you hug me, I'll bite. Izumi smiled. That's how I know you care. 𝐒𝐮𝐽 added, You've allowed physical proximity for 20 minutes. By introvert standards, this is intimacy. Katsuki made a face. Gross. They all laughed. The teachers watched in a mixture of awe and fear. A new alliance had been born. Noon, a miracle. Nothing had caught on fire. No one had gone to the nurse. The guinea pig was only slightly traumatized. It was, by every metric, a miracle. Miss 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐚 walked the three to the front of the school, hands trembling only a little. Well, she said, it was lively. Izumi beamed. We're coming back tomorrow, right? Wise. 𝐒𝐮𝐽 raised a hand. I made a list of improvements for the class schedule. Katsuki just gave the teacher a look of pure, hollow empathy. Good luck. You'll need it. Later that night, Mitsuki called 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐽. So, how'd it go? 𝐒𝐮𝐽 groaned. She adopted someone new. Mitsuki laughed. Katsuki said she found a tea gremlin and forged an unholy alliance of chaos. She made a siege engine, Mitsuki, out of craft sticks. Who does that? Your daughter. Inko sighed. She's gonna rule the world, isn't she? If it survives her childhood. Probably. Location, Aldra Little Stars preschool time. Tuesday morning, 9:12 a.m. Izumi Midoriya, 5 years old event. Fire alarm test, or so they thought. It started like any normal day. The sun was soft through the classroom windows, casting golden squares on the floor like warm spotlights. Izumi had arrived with 2 braids, glittery sneakers, and a backpack filled with stickers, crayons, and Machi the cat, her emotional support animal riding in a ventilated satchel on her chest like a fuzzy knight. Today's the day we present our glitter cannon peace diplomacy device, she had announced proudly, presenting her spaghetti and cardboard monstrosity with actual confetti launchers. Miss 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐽𝐫 had already resigned herself to sweeping confetti out of the vents again. Katsuki was halfway through a juice box. Saiko was reading The Economic History of Tea Cultivation with the dead-eyed focus of someone immune to chaos. Then it happened. 12 a.m. The sound that shattered the fire alarm went off. A blaring, sharp, 2-tone scream echoed through the classroom like a wailing banshee. Red lights flashed on every wall, harsh and erratic, pulsing like a heartbeat. Everyone line up, Miss 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐫 began, her practice teacher voice kicking in. Then she heard a sound that froze her BLD. It wasn't screaming. It was silence. Izumi, the bubbly, bouncing, sticker-wielding chaos muppet, was on her knees, frozen mid-motion, eyes wide, breathing shallow. Machi had clawed his way out of her satchel and was pressing against her chest, yowling, tail puffed like a bottle brush. Katsuki was at her side immediately. "Izu. Hey, look at me." Izumi wasn't responding. Her hands were trembling, clutching her arms. Her mouth moved like she was trying to say something but couldn't. The alarm kept blaring. The lights kept flashing. Then, she collapsed. 14 a.m., seizure onset. Miss 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐫's mind whited out as Izumi hit the floor, body spasming violently. Her limbs twitched with unnatural rhythm, her eyes fluttered wildly, and her breath turned ragged. Machi never moved. He pressed against Izumi's ribs, purring so loudly it was like a motorbike. "Medical protocol," Saiko shouted, already on her feet and moving. "She's having a seizure. Flash sensitivity. We need to get her out of the light." Katsuki was pale, shaking, but he stood between the lights and Izumi's face like a living wall. Miss 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐫 screamed into the hallway for help. 20 a.m., emergency response. The lights were finally cut. The alarm silenced. A blanket had been placed over Izumi to block the residual sun glare. One of the teachers had grabbed a pair of noise-canceling headphones from the sensory supplies cabinet and gently placed them over her ears. She had stopped convulsing, now curled up, sobbing softly, eyes still unfocused. She was whispering something. Miss 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐫 leaned close. "Did I ruin the art project?" Her voice was a ghost of itself. Fragile. Miss 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐫's heart cracked open. "No, sweetie. No, you didn't ruin anything," she said, tears threatening. Katsuki was crouched beside her, still holding one of Izumi's hands like it was keeping him grounded. "You scared the sea out of me, nerd," he whispered. "Don't do that again." Machi meowed in response, liking her cheek. Izumi gave a broken giggle, which turned into another soft cry. 45 a.m., nurse's office. The preschool nurse, a retired emergency medic, was already on the phone with Inko, relaying everything. "She's stable now," he said. "Vitals are okay. The seizure passed quickly. We're running a basic check, but she needs a specialist." Inko's voice, on the other end, was filled with terror. "I'm on my way. Please, just keep her calm. She's never had one before." 05 a.m., the fallout. Miss 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐫 sat beside Izumi on the cot. Her small frame was wrapped in a weighted blanket, Machi tucked against her chest, breathing finally calm. Izumi looked up at her teacher with tear-stained cheeks. "I didn't mean to scare anyone." "You didn't, love," 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐫 lied. "You didn't do anything wrong." It was just so loud and bright and I tried to stay calm. Machi helped. He tried so hard to help. I know. You did amazing. There was a beat of silence. Then, Miss Izumi. Yes. Am I broken? The teacher's heart nearly stopped. She reached out, gently pushing back Izumi's hair. Sweetheart, you are the bravest little goblin I have ever met. I'm a goblin. A magnificent, chaos-fueled, serotonin bomb genius goblin. Not broken. But a little more complicated than most. Izumi sniffled. Okay, 15 a.m., Miss Izumi's breakdown the moment Inko arrived and held Izumi close, rocking her gently while whispering soft nothings into her hair. Miss Izumi stepped out into the hallway and pressed her back to the wall. She slid down until she was sitting on the floor. And cried. She had failed. She hadn't known. No one had told her. No warning in the files. No notation from the specialist. No tag about photosensitivity. She was a teacher. It was her job to protect them. And she hadn't known. The aftermath: within 24 hours, new protocols were drafted. Izumi's file now had full medical flags: ADHD stage 4, seizure risk, photosensitive, tactile sensitivity, and panic triggers. All fire drills required 72-hour notice unless it was an actual emergency. Izumi was moved to a private sensory-friendly recovery space near the nurse's office. Machi was officially recognized as a certified ESA by the school district. Later that night, at home, Izumi sat curled in a blanket fort on the couch, holding Machi like a plush toy. Inko brought her tea in a glittery mug labeled 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲 of kindness. Do I have to quit preschool? Izumi asked. Inko sat beside her, kissed her temple. Not a chance. They just have to catch up to how unique you are. Izumi blinked at her. Is that your nice way of saying I broke a teacher? Inko snorted. She's fine. Traumatized, but fine. They giggled together. And somewhere else. Miss Izumi sat at her desk long after hours, scribbling notes and reminders. Next to her coffee mug was a sticky note with a glitter sticker on it. It read, "Thank you for being my calm when I can't find mine." In a 5-year-old's handwriting. She cried again. And then began planning a classroom remodel, with dimmable lights, soundproof corners, and a sign that read, "Welcome to the Goblin's Lair, chaos managed here." Location: Muzudafu Pediatric Quirk and Neurological Center. Time: Thursday morning, 8:47 a.m. Age: Izumi Midoriya, 5 years old. Event: full neurological and quirk-centered medical evaluation. It had been 36 hours since the seizure. Izumi had bounced back emotionally faster than anyone expected, already redesigning her glitter cannon to include a sound-dampening field just in case of another fire goblin ambush. But Inko had not slept. She kept watching her daughter like she might shatter again. Because for a few terrifying moments, she had. And now here they were, walking into the Muzudafu Pediatric Quirk and Neurological Center, a hospital so advanced it had an entire wing for neurodivergent quirk-affected children, affectionately nicknamed the Spaghetti Brain Lab. Izumi had immediately dubbed it Science Hogwarts. The welcome Dr. Reika Tenmyuji was already waiting for them. She was a tall woman in her mid-40s with streaks of silver in her jet-black hair and warm, clever eyes. Her lab coat had paint splotches on the cuffs, and her office walls were covered in colorful drawings from patients, many clearly done with too much glitter. Her name tag read, Dr. Reika, Chaos Wrangler, Tenmyuji Pediatric Neuroquirk Specialist, ADHD and Epilepsy Division, will bribe with coffee. She smiled as Izumi bounced into the room. You must be Izumi. I've heard a lot about you. Did you hear about the glitter cannon? It wasn't my fault it went off in the hallway. The button looked sad and I had to push it. Dr. Reika laughed softly. I see we're starting with radical honesty. Inko gave a long-suffering but loving sigh. The tests begin. Test 1. EEG electroencephalogram. Izumi sat patiently, wiggled patiently, while the nurse placed soft, cold electrodes on her scalp. Do I look like a jellyfish yet? She asked. No, but you do look like a sci-fi princess, Dr. Reika answered. The EEG revealed hyperactivity in her frontal cortex, a constant stream of beta wave surges, and reactive spikes in response to visual and auditory stimuli, confirming the presence of photosensitive epilepsy, sensory processing disorder, and a neurological condition that strongly mimicked stage 4 ADHD, all of it quirk-enhanced. Test 2. Quirk evaluation MRI. With a special machine designed for mutated neurological quirks, they mapped the structure of Izumi's brain. What they saw made Dr. Reika sit back in awe. Izumi's prefrontal cortex was overdeveloped, almost like it had been turbocharged, wrapping around areas of her brain that showed explosive cognitive activity far beyond human norms. Her corpus callosum, which connects both hemispheres, was nearly double the average density, meaning ideas bounced between sides of her brain at lightning speed. There was an imbalance. Neural firing wasn't just rapid, it was chaotic, like fireworks being set off in different directions simultaneously. Her default mode network, responsible for daydreaming and internal thoughts, was always on, even when it shouldn't be. This is, Dr. Reika murmured. She's not just a genius. It's like a brain with no brakes. The diagnosis. In the private consultation room, Dr. Reika placed a thick folder on the desk. She looked at 𝐮𝐸𝐸, gently but seriously. "We've confirmed it," she said. "Izumi has the second most severe case of ADHD ever recorded in quirk-related medicine. Her intelligence quirk, which we've decided to name 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲, is the root cause." 𝐮𝐸𝐸 paled. "What does that mean?" Dr. Reika flipped open the chart. Quirk profile, HPSC certified quirk name, 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐴𝐸𝐸 classification, mutant type neurological enhancement function, grants the user unparalleled intellectual capacity, near infinite data absorption, and intuitive pattern recognition. Cognitive processing speeds clocked at 180x normal human rates. IQ simulated estimate, 750 plus instability index CQI rating, 9, 4 out of 10 side effects. Severe quirk-induced ADHD stage 4, hyperactive/chaotic subtype, photosensitive epilepsy triggered by flashing lights greater than or equal to 10 seconds, sensory processing overload, touch, sound, visual, emotional dysregulation, sleep CYCL fragmentation, average REM sleep, 1-2 hours per night, romantic perception impairment, clinically documented, romance blindness, unless directly informed. Doctor's summary: Izumi's brain is like the internet trying to run on a microwave, Dr. Reika said. She processes things faster than most people can think. But the downside is, she has no natural cognitive filters. Every light, sound, texture, smell, emotion, it all hits her like a freight train. 𝐮𝐸𝐸's face was stricken. She's been dealing with this the whole time. And compensating brilliantly. Her cat, Machi, is acting as a natural grounding anchor, the only thing that holds her attention without triggering hyperfixation or burnout. HPSC psychological addendum, Class A quirk sensitivity file, subject, Izumi Midoriya status, Class A watchlist, high-risk quirk instability, cognitive branch, psychological notes. He exhibits profound empathy, excessive kindness, and hypersocial extroversion despite overwhelming internal chaos. Demonstrates serotonin nuke behavioral signature. Presence elicits emotional lift in others regardless of stress levels. His subject appears unaware of romantic cues entirely. Has described affection as that feeling when you want to give someone the biggest sticker. Gullibility is dangerously high. Subject can be manipulated easily with correctly worded emotional triggers. Suggested action. Do not allow exposure to extended visual strobing under any circumstances. He avoids sudden loud noises. Subject may panic violently. Tactile sensitivity is extreme, firm, predictable pressure calms. Unexpected touch causes pain. Keep ESA Machi present during any assessment or DSPLN. Note, subject is not a threat. Subject is a gift. Handle with compassion. Medical summary, top 5 facts about Izumi Midoriya flashing light sensitivity. Exposure to flashing lights 10 plus seconds induces partial to full seizures. If the stimulus continues, risk of coma-level overstimulation exists. Auditory sensitivity, sudden sounds over 90 decibels e.g., alarms, fireworks may trigger panic attacks, hyperventilation, or blackout dissociation. Tactile sensory disorder. Her skin is hypersensitive to touch. Clothing tags, seams, or pressure may cause either pain or overwhelming euphoria. Wears all sensory-friendly materials. Sleep disorder. Due to overactive brain function, she rarely enters full REM cycles. Often sleeps in 15 to 30-minute bursts, but catnaps frequently. Romantic blindness. Cannot perceive romantic attention. Must be directly informed or shown in clear terms. Otherwise, she will assume all love is platonic/sticker-based. After the appointment back in the car, Izumi was curled up in the back seat, hugging Machi and talking about whether snails have anxiety. Inko looked at the paperwork in her lap, then at her daughter in the mirror. How could something so brilliant also be so fragile? But then Izumi looked up at her with the biggest grin, dimpled and full of sunshine. Mom. Yes, baby. I'm not broken, right? Inko smiled through tears. No, my love. You're not broken. You're just the entire rainbow in a thunderstorm. Izumi paused. Can I be a thunder goblin? Yes. Yay. Location: Hero Public Safety Commission Headquarters, Tokyo Department, Quirk Oversight and Development, Pediatric Division. Subject: IEP and Accommodations Request, Midoriya, Izumi. Security Classification: Quirk Sensitivity Class A, Neurodevelopmental, 12 AM, Internal Memo, HPSC Pediatric Oversight Branch 2, all relevant department leads from HPSC Child Quirk Accommodations Committee, Dr. Yumiko Katsu. Subject: Urgent, Quirk Accommodations Review, Midoriya, Izumi. Age 5. Please review the attached 62-page NeuroQuirk evaluation packet. I repeat, 62 pages. For a 5-year-old. This is not a joke. We are dealing with a child whose mind is twice as fast as Nizu's and whose body reacts to the world like it's one constant boss battle. As of this morning, the request includes IEP Individualized Education Plan approval for NeuroQuirk Instability Medical Accommodation Protocol under Code Rose Level Emergency Sensory Threshold Emotional Support Animal Registration for Machi the cat. Yes. This is real classroom remodeling to prevent overstimulation and a 6-foot-long glitter-free zone declaration around all art supplies. We may also need a new category on the CQI. Serotonin-based public safety hazard. Red. Everything. Twice. You'll understand why we had to invent 3 new medical forms just to categorize this kid. 36 AM. Dr. Akari Takashima's office. Dr. Takashima, director of the Pediatric Quirk Oversight Branch, stared at the file on her desk like it had just insulted her family line. The folder was pink, covered in star stickers. It had glitter in the plastic sleeve. On the front, a child's drawing of a smiley face with the caption, "I'm not chaos. I'm just excited really hard." Izumi Greenheart. She flipped it open. Page 1. Cognizance Bloom, Preliminary Quirk Summary. Page 2. Neural Imaging Report. 15 pages. Page 17. Seizure Incident Log, Fire Alarm Event. Page 22. Behavioral Feedback from Preschool. Quote: What tornado gave this child glitter? Page 39. Romantic Perception Blindness Test Results. Page 42. HPSC Danger Evaluation Form, marked, No Danger, Extremely Sweet, 3 times in bold. Page 51 featured a doodle of a cat wearing goggles labeled, Dr. Machi, Official Therapist. Dr. Takashima leaned back in her chair. I need coffee. 03 AM, Emergency HPSC Pediatric Meeting. 6 department heads sat in a room that usually discussed quirk-based biohazards, exploding toddlers, or precocious villains in the making. Today, they were discussing a girl who made adults cry with how cute she was. PowerPoint Slide 1. Midoriya, Izumi, Quirk Genius, ADHD Chaos Goblin, Registered Serotonin Nuke. Dr. Takashima, you've read the file. Questions. Agent Rinko. Quirk Education, is she actually the second most severe ADHD case on record? Dr. Yumiko. Quirk Neuro, yes. The first was a child who kept trying to rewrite reality with crayons. We put that one in a pocket dimension. Izumi is stable, if you define stable as constantly talking while climbing on walls. Agent Kuda legal, and she's sweet. Dr. Takashima, too sweet. We had to check if her saliva contained sugar. It doesn't. Her presence alone boosted morale in the waiting room. The vending machine gave everyone free snacks. The cat purred once, and a baby somewhere in the building stopped crying. Agent 𝐒𝐲 risk assessment. So, she's a public menace. Dr. Yumiko. She's a walking serotonin generator who panics if someone yells, and has a seizure if exposed to flashing lights, and cries if someone frowns too hard. But she also designed a hydraulic glitter launcher with limited resources, so, yes, public menace by cuteness. 58 AM, CQI Update Draft Child Quirk Instability Index CQI. Subject: Midoriya, Izumi Age, 5 Quirk, Cognizance Bloom Intelligence Amplification, 1800% Emotional Stability, High Empathy, Extremely Reactive Romantic Perception, Clinically Null Threat Rating, 0 unless given Coffee Risk Index, 3, 1 Environmental Chaos Only Sweetness Index, 10 out of 10 Warning, Prolonged exposure may cause emotional cavities, 32 AM, accommodations approval. The vote was unanimous. Izumi's IEP and full list of accommodations were approved under quirk-affected neurodevelopmental child protocols, Article 12C, which had previously only applied to 3 children, all of whom now worked in underground hero think tanks. Her accommodations included a sensory-safe classroom with noise-dampening walls, soft LED lights, and color-neutral materials. A permanent ESA license for Machi, now officially listed as a Level 1 quirk grounding cat. 2 personal aids rotation required due to burnout likelihood. A 10-minute STMLTN cooldown zone, with weighted blankets, poppets, and cat videos. Romantic awareness exemption in any future relationship-based education. All cues must be directly explained or written in glitter markers. 12 p.m. Final note from the commission. As Dr. Takashima finalized the report, she added a personal note to the bottom of the form. Midoriya, Izumi is not a threat, a problem, or a danger. She is an anomaly, a perfect storm of genius and joy whose only crime is feeling too much too fast. She makes people laugh just by existing. Her laughter makes even the tiredest agent smile. The world will never be ready for her, but it will be better because of her. Elsewhere, that afternoon back at preschool, Izumi tried to convince Katsuki to help her turn the sandbox into a kinetic trap maze. She already had a blueprint. Psycho just sipped her tea with the 1,000-yard stare of someone who knew resistance was futile. Katsuki sighed and muttered under his breath, "There is no escape from the extrovert." Date: April 3rd. Location: Shizuoka Little Lanterns Preschool, Sensory Safe Room A. Subject: Midoriya, Izumi Age 5. Status: First day under new HPS approved accommodations. Note: Emotional support cat Machi present and on duty. 35 AM. Classroom A. Renovation complete. The newly furnished sensory safe classroom was a marvel of educational science and HPSC funding. Walls were padded with calming pastels. Lighting was diffused and warm, filtered through noise-dampening panels designed to eliminate harsh hums and fluorescent flickers. Soft-textured floor mats ran beneath strategically placed desks with rounded edges. Each corner featured a mini zone, the tinker spot with safe building tools, foam schematics, and puzzle cubes. The Zen Cave, complete with a beanbag, white noise machine, and a weighted alpaca plush named Captain Fluff. The visual garden, filled with slow-moving lava lamps, fake fish tanks, and motion-reactive LED trails. Dim, muted color shifts only. And at the very center of the room, a circular cushion throne for Izumi and her companion, Machi, the emotional support cat, currently loafing like a judgmental cloud with ears. 42 AM. Entry detected. Hurricane Izumi. The door burst open like the world's politest explosion. "Hello." Izumi beamed, her eyes sparkling with that particular flavor of chaos reserved only for 5-year-old geniuses with caffeine-level energy and no caffeine. Miss Azome barely had time to brace herself before Izumi launched forward, spinning in place and squealing with delight. "It smells like lavender and dust bunnies. I love it here." Behind her, Machi, tethered in a soft HRS with a customized, certified emotional support cat badge, trotted in at a resigned pace. His job was difficult, but he was the only living being who could lock Izumi's attention long enough to reset her focus, and he knew it. Izumi ran from corner to corner, touching everything, flopping dramatically into the Zen cave, then leaping out again to build a 4-tier gear pyramid in the tinker spot. She chattered nonstop the whole time. Did you know that lavender can reduce stress levels in 82% of people but only 61% of cats? Machi doesn't like it unless it's mixed with cedarwood, but don't worry, I made him a cedar-scented collar with, oh my gosh, that's a foam alpaca. I'm naming it Dynamite Fluffy. Miss 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐸 smiled gently and jotted in her clipboard, 8:04 a.m., student acclimating well. Displaying high energy. Vocabulary, nuclear grade. Alpaca has been renamed. 22 a.m. The picture Miss 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸 had just knelt to check the water dispenser in the visual garden when she saw it. Izumi, sitting cross-legged on her pillow throne, holding Machi in her lap, whispering something to him while adjusting his miniature goggles. Yes, goggles. Her hair fluffed from static, her socks mismatched on purpose. Asymmetry is balance in disguise, she had said once, and her cheeks slightly flushed with focus. She looked like a real-life anime mascot. A chaos pixie who happened to have invented a 5-gear catapult last week. Without thinking, Miss 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸 took a picture. Just one. Izumi glanced up and gave a huge, toothy smile. Cheese Storm. 01 a.m. Uploaded to school website. The school had a section titled Moments of Joy, a rotating image gallery for the sake of community transparency. Miss 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸𝐸 uploaded the photo with a short caption. First day in our sensory-safe room. Izumi and Machi are ready to learn sparkling heart #inclusive education #chaos and cats #serotonin. She closed her laptop. She had no idea what she had done. 14 a.m. Infection begins. The image caught the eye of one parent. Then another. Then 5 teachers from across the district. Then someone on staff forwarded it to their cousin in Tokyo, who worked for an education blog. 36 a.m. Going viral. Twitter now X post from @EduCatNation. I'm not crying. You're crying. Look at this tiny genius in a sensory-safe classroom whispering science secrets to her emotional support cat. Pleading face growing heart #neurodiverse joy. Reddit r/wholesome memes. Title, she has a cat. The cat has goggles. The cat wears goggles for science. Top comment, I would die for her and her bean loaf guardian. Instagram repost, caption, the serotonin we needed but didn't deserve. Within hours, Izumi became an accidental internet icon. Fan art started showing up by 3 p.m. 47 a.m., HPSC internal memo #112 Izumi watch. Effective immediately, Midoriya Izumi is to be monitored for potential media attention exposure. She is not to give interviews, no matter how many people beg. Please prevent attempts to merchandise Machi. Also, stop reposting the photo internally. The emotional sugar crashes are making staff productivity drop. 00 p.m. Meanwhile, back at school, Izumi had no idea she'd become famous online. She was currently building a sensory-friendly marble maze with glitter-free components, humming a song she made up on the spot about atomic bonds being clingy little besties. Machi sat beside her, munching on a freeze-dried salmon treat, while Psycho watched from the Zen cave, sipping her tea and murmuring like a retired soldier, there's no escape from the extrovert. Katsuki was in the corner drawing aggressive stick figures and quietly making peace with his fate. Closing note, Miss 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐸𝐸's journal, Izumi may be a storm. A whirlwind of joy and stimulus and too fast thoughts. But she's not a problem to solve, she's a wonder to behold. Today, she made science fun, made art safe, and made kindness into something kinetic. She may not realize it yet, but she's going to change the world. One high-speed serotonin burst at a time. Date, March 19th. Location, Little Lanterns Enrichment Annex, Grade 3 Advanced Neurodivergent Cohort Subject. Midoriya, Izumi age 8 status, still too powerful. Still weaponized serotonin. 30 a.m. Arrival, Chaos Fluff reloaded. By now, the staff had a system in place for the Midoriya protocol. Upon arrival, Izumi would be gently handed her weighted plush, given her noise-canceling cat-eared headphones hot pink, of course, and then gently redirected from climbing the school's decorative ivy wall. Izumi, the roof is not a lunch spot. It could be a lunch spot if we dream hard enough. Machi, now a grumpy but loyal cat senior, was nestled in her backpack, head poking out through a custom HS. His sunglasses gleamed. He'd seen things. 02 p.m., the Spark, bento box bombshell lunch was chaos as usual, kids chatting, trading snacks, and Izumi giving very serious commentary to her rice ball shaped like a mitochondrion. It began innocently enough. Psycho had asked, "Izumi, have you ever thought about the evolutionary logic behind quirk development?" Bad move. Izumi, mid-bite of her omelet roll, froze. Her pupils dilated. Her brain, already running at 200 miles per hour, threw itself into TED Talk mode. She stood up on her chair. Machi meowed once, which everyone had learned was cat code for, "Oh no." 04 p.m., commencement of Quirks Are Bullshit. A lunch lecture by Midoriya Izumi. Okay, so. Izumi shouted, voice carrying over the din instantly. Every other child went quiet. They knew what was coming. They didn't understand it, but they felt it. Holding up her bento box like a projector slide, she began. Slide 1. Genetics are lying liars. First of all, how the hell do 80% of humans suddenly evolve a superpower gene in 100 years? That's not even remotely possible under Mendelian inheritance unless every single human on Earth simultaneously got visited by a genetically untraceable quirk fairy with a FDSH for chaos. She picked up her soy sauce fish bottle, now repurposed as a genetic model. And don't get me started on the whole quirk factor nonsense. You're telling me there's this invisible, unmeasurable biological mechanism that changes your cells magically and can somehow store fire, generate explosions, or let you talk to birds, without causing systemic organ failure? Absolute pseudoscientific garbage. A first-year cried. Katsuki nodded solemnly, sipping his juice like he was watching a TEDx disaster unfold. Slide 2. Thermodynamics called and it's pissed. Izumi flung a napkin to the floor and stomped on it for emphasis. Where does the energy come from? Do quirk users have extra ATP reserves? A subdimensional battery in their spleen? Then why does nobody burn out after generating lightning or icy for 5 straight minutes? She slammed her chopsticks down like a gavel. This breaks at least 3 laws of thermodynamics and I am tired of pretending it doesn't. Slide 3, explain. Tail quirks. Right now. She pointed at a doodle on her lunchbox. Explain to me how giving BRTH to a baby with a full-grown prehensile tail doesn't cause maternal spinal dislocation. Are babies just born doing crunches now? Slide 4. Quirk inheritance is as fake as Santa. She held up a chart she made, on her napkin, with color-coded boxes. My classmate's mom is a plant lady. Her dad can turn into smoke. Their son can manipulate concrete. What the hell kind of Punnett square is that? Magic concrete baby, Katsuki muttered. Thank you, Kaken, you get it. 12 p.m., Machi intervenes at this point. Izumi was pacing on the lunch table. Psycho was taking notes. 3 kids had minor existential crises. Machi leapt onto the table and headbutt her shin. That was the signal. Oh right, she chirped. I forgot to finish my egg. She sat back down as if she hadn't just launched a philosophical nuke into every child's worldview. 24 p.m., aftermath teachers found several students lying on the grass outside, whispering, "She's right. Nothing makes sense. Are we the quirks?" Psycho Intelli had brewed emergency tea in her thermos. Katsuki stared at the clouds. Miss Azome, now veteran enough to remain calm in the face of Izuminados, simply wrote, "Lunch lecture, quirk criticism unscheduled. Devastatingly effective." 00 p.m., email sent to HPSC subject. Midoriya, Izumi, unscheduled philosophical disruption events summary. Midoriya initiated a rapid-fire scientific deconstruction of quirk logic during lunch. Children affected emotionally. One child attempted to measure his quirk factor using a spoon and string. Action required. Recommend review by Quirk Theory Department. Possibly Philosophy of Powers Commission. Also, begin compiling quotes. This child is going to write a book one day. Later that evening, Inko's apartment. Did you do anything exciting at school today, sweetie? Inko asked. Izumi, now in her duck pajamas, hugged Machi and grinned. Not much. Just yelled about biology over rice and existentially dismantled society's understanding of quirks. I made a sculpture of mitochondria using mashed potatoes. Inko blinked. Okay. Machi stared at the wall like a war veteran. 30 a.m. history class. The spark of doom, Miss Tano, the class history teacher, had a relatively simple plan for the day. We're covering World War II today, she began, tapping the holographic whiteboard. Specifically, the attack on Pearl Harbor. She glanced toward the corner of the classroom, where Izumi Midoriya was coloring a hyper-accurate neuron diagram into the margins of her notes. Her adorable bubble braids bounced as she leaned forward in interest. Oh good, Miss Tano thought. She looks calm today. Famous last thoughts. 34 a.m. The button is pressed. Miss Tano made one fateful error. Now, class, Japan's decision to attack Pearl Harbor is often remembered as a bold strategic strike. Some historians argue it was a masterstroke in surprising the United States, and that's when she heard it. Excuse me, Izumi had raised her hand, but her chair was already screeching back. Permission to disagree strongly and with extreme prejudice, Miss Tano. Go ahead. The moment the words left her mouth, Miss Tano realized she'd doomed them all. 35 a.m. The lecture begins. Izumi climbed atop her desk like a tiny general preparing to drop a tactical nuke of historical rage. They played themselves, she declared. Everyone stared. Japan's high command committed strategic seppuku in the Pacific Theater, and I'll tell you why. Slide 1. You don't wake up a giant and then just leave. Izumi launched into a breakdown so detailed, it felt like she had access to classified naval documents. Japan attacking Hawaii was like poking a hibernating bear with a nuclear cattle prod. They didn't even bother to hit the fuel reserves, repair docks, or the actual aircraft carriers. They just bombed a bunch of battleships that would have been obsolete in 5 years. That's like trying to take out a fighter jet by punching its tires. Psycho Intelli was already scribbling notes. Katsuki looked ready to defect from whatever country he was currently loyal to. Slide 2. You have one job and it's oil. Do you know how close they were to winning the China conflict? They almost had the resources. But no, they didn't finish securing Dutch oil fields first. Instead, they kicked the hornet's nest known as the U.S. Navy before they had the logistics to hold the Pacific. She drew a triangle in the air using a marker and yelled, strategic, resource, prioritization, people. Slide 3. Fleet composition and logistics. Bruh. They also built super battleships like the Yamato and Musashi instead of putting more into carrier doctrine. What were they thinking? The age of battleships was already over. Every carrier sunk was an irreversible loss, and they had no planes to spare. She stomped her tiny foot. You don't plan a war against an industrial powerhouse when your factories can't even mass-produce engine parts without imported metal. Slide 4. You can't win a war with vibes and bad maps. They had horrible code-breaking security, underestimated Allied industrial capacity, and overestimated their ability to force a negotiated peace. There is not one part of this that wasn't a multi-layered burrito of delusion. 42 a.m. Machi meows once. That was the signal that her BLD sugar was dropping. Izumi blinked, sat back down, and picked up her chocolate milk. I want a cookie, she said, cheeks puffed adorably. I ranted too hard. 43 m. Aftermath. Miss Tano was gripping her desk like a woman who had just witnessed military-level intelligence come out of a child in pink glitter leggings. Class, she said faintly, let's take a quiet moment to reflect. Katsuki muttered to Psycho, don't make eye contact. She smells fear. Psycho, pale but impressed, whispered, I think she might be a war god in disguise. 10 a.m. Email to the HPSC. Again. Subject, Midoriya, Izumi, unscheduled strategic military breakdown. Summary. Student delivered a spontaneous, emotionally charged historical critique of Imperial Japan's Pacific strategy. Demonstrated encyclopedic knowledge of naval warfare, resource logistics, and international diplomacy. Collateral, 3 students cried. One asked to join the Navy. Another wrote, I want to be a general like Izumi, in crayon on the walls. Requested action. Please classify child's brain as a Tier 3 national security intelligence resource. Possibly invest in therapy for staff. Personal note, I am begging someone to sedate this child with cookies or hugs or something. Please. 00 p.m., Midoriya household. Did you do anything fun at school today, sweetie? Izumi, now curled on the couch in a blanket burrito, nodded cheerfully. Yep. I explained how Japan fumbled the Pacific War. Like it was a slippery fish and then dropped it on a lava floor. Inko blinked. Would you like cookies? Yes, please. Date, September 12th. Location, 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲's living room. Time, 3:34 p.m. Mission status, get Izumi to want to be a hero. Success probability, 3.7%. According to 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐽's tea-fueled math, it started like any normal day. Izumi Midoriya had somehow ended up inside 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐽's apartment again. No one was entirely sure how. 1 minute she was doing laps around the block. The next she was knocking on the door with a 3D printed neuron model and 4 different types of juice boxes. Sigh. I figured out how to fix traffic. That's a terrifying sentence. Also, I brought mango juice. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐽𝐸 sat cross-legged on the couch, chewing on a protein bar like a tired war veteran watching a tornado made of sugar and existential dread. The plan begins. 𝐒𝐮𝐽, who had just activated her quirk by sipping a cup of oolong tea, turned her sharp gaze to Katsuki. It's time. 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐸 snorted. You sure? Izumi trusts us. That makes her exploitable. You say that like it's a good thing. It is if you're trying to save the world from the potential academic nuclear warhead that is Midoriya Izumi unleashed and directionless. He grunted. Fair. 00 p.m., the hook, dream baiting, Aizu, 𝐒𝐮𝐽 said sweetly, flipping through her planner. Have you ever thought about what kind of college you want to go to? Izumi blinked, bouncing on a yoga ball, her hands full of gummy bears and schematics for a trash-sorting AI system. I want to go to all of them. All the colleges. I want to eat knowledge like spaghetti. 𝐒𝐮𝐽 winced. Katsuki deadpanned, what the hell does that even mean? I want to drink textbooks. 10 p.m., deploying Phase 2, Applied Manipulation Science, 𝐒𝐮𝐽 continued, tone smooth. Well, if you go to the U College Heroics program, you get access to classified data, tech no one else is allowed to touch, and real-time simulations with military-grade AI. Izumi's eyes glinted. Battlefield AI. Yes. Izumi gasped and spun 360 degrees on the yoga ball. They have the stuff that goes pew-pew and the training rooms that go VR zoom-zoom. Katsuki muttered, that's not even a sentence. 15 p.m., the trap is set, Aizu, 𝐒𝐮𝐽 said carefully, sipping more tea. Think about it, you love helping people. You're really sweet, right? So why not be a hero? Izumi tilted her head, cheeks puffing up in thought. But I'm bad at plans sometimes. I get distracted, and I accidentally created a bread golem last week. You literally reprogrammed your toaster into a semi-autonomous food printer using a paperclip and a Raspberry Pi. He's sentient now. His name is Crumbly. 𝐒𝐮𝐽 pinched the bridge of her nose. 30 p.m., Katsuki steps in, oi nerd, 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐸 grunted, finally leaning forward. You like doing the right thing, yeah? Izumi nodded furiously. And you like people, even if they're annoying. Yep. Then be a DMN hero already. You're scary smart, you love helping folks, and you literally cried when you saw a squirrel trip. Izumi gasped. He wasn't ready for the gravity. Katsuki pressed on. What better way to help everyone than by beating up villains and doing science in a hero lab? You'd be unstoppable. 𝐒𝐮𝐽 could be your operator. 𝐒𝐮𝐽 perked up. I could. Katsuki added, I'd be your frontline partner. We'd be the squad. Izumi paused, and slowly, her mind began to build a mental picture. Izumi's brain visualized Hero Izumi in a lab coat, dual-wielding test tubes. 𝐒𝐮𝐽 at a command center, sipping tea while controlling a satellite. Katsuki blowing up a villain's robot arm while screaming hero slogans. Machi the emotional support cat floats in with a cape. Izumi whispered, "I would be." Science hero girl supernova. 00 p.m. Mission accomplished. Psycho exchanged a victorious glance with Katsuki. "She's on the hook." Katsuki grunted. "What the hell do we do now?" "Make sure she doesn't invent a quantum destabilizer on accident." They turned back to Izumi, who was already trying to modify her cat's carrier into a mobile research lab. File update, HPSC office subject, Midoriya, Izumi event, decision to pursue you. Heroics path date, logged September 12th. Alert level, yellow, elevated risk of world-breaking scientific hero notes. Subject has been nudged toward the hero course via trusted peers Bakugo Katsuki and IntelliPsycho. Motivation rooted in longing to help people with cool tech and get to touch restricted machines. Recommended course of action. Begin early psychological hero course conditioning and safety checks for lab environments. Emotional support cat remains vital. Final scene. That night Inko, folding laundry, heard her daughter burst through the door like a sugar-charged tornado. "Mama, I wanna be a hero scientist." Inko blinked. "Sweetie, you already dissected your toaster this week." "I wanna dissect evil toasters." "I'll call the school in the morning." But to most people, burnout meant stress, exhaustion, or apathy. To Izumi Midoriya, burnout meant hours of unrelenting cognitive overclocking, pages of notes in 3 handwriting styles, an entire neural network model coded using her phone's calculator app, a partially constructed anti-gravity prototype made of duct tape, a rice cooker, and sheer will. And now it meant she had collapsed face first into Psycho's couch, limbs spaghetti limp, while weakly meowing for Machi like a dying Disney princess. "Sei, kacha. I'm Tai Third." Psycho set her tea down with clinical precision. "I believe we've entered a code pink." Katsuki blinked. "The hell's that?" Post-burnout Izumi, type 1 attachment spiral. Katsuki squinted. "In plain English, she's about to become emotionally Velcro." Phase 1. The clinging Izumi rolled off the couch with the grace of a sack of wet laundry, crawled toward Psycho, and, without a shred of hesitation or shame, latched onto her like a koala. Psycho froze. "I can't feel my ribs." "You're warm and smart, you're my friend, I love you," Izumi murmured, nuzzling into Psycho's side like a sleepy panda on sedatives. "You smell like comfort and data." Katsuki, watching with a mix of awe and horror, backed away slowly. Izumi's ears twitched. Her head rotated mechanically toward him. "Kaken. You too." Katsuki raised a hand like she was a wild bear. "No. But." Izumi let go of Psycho with the slow, fluid determination of a haunted marionette and launched herself, whump. She landed against Katsuki like a weighted blanket with big green eyes. "Cuddles." "Nope. Nope, no, stop. I'm tired. You're warm. You smell like explosions and loyalty." Izumi, get OFF. Damn it. He was pinned. Her limbs were wrapped around him in ways he didn't think physics allowed. Psycho watched, sipping her tea. "She's stronger than she looks in burnout mode." Katsuki hissed through clenched teeth. "She's pure serotonin and desperation. It's like being hugged by a needy god." Phase 2. The cuddle spiral. For the next 37 minutes, neither of them escaped. Izumi snuggled. She whined. She mumbled affection. She purred. "I love you guys. You make my brain go soft in the good way." Katsuki's eye twitched. "I can't feel my dignity." "She's rewiring my dopamine receptors," Psycho muttered. Izumi, cheeks squished against Katsuki's shoulder, poked Psycho. "You're like if spreadsheets were cuddly." Psycho blinked, stunned. "That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me." Medical note. Psycho's personal log subject, Midoriya, Izumi condition, post-burnout clingstorm duration, approximately 90 minutes. Symptoms: intense cuddling, verbal affection loops, 0 physical boundaries, emotional vulnerability at 200%. Conclusion: God help us if she learns how to weaponize this. Recovery phase: eventually, Izumi's system powered down like a solar-powered kitten. She curled between them like a purring mass of exhaustion, warmth, and static cling. Silence reigned. Katsuki finally sighed, too tired to fight anymore. She's gonna be a hero. Saiko nodded, gently brushing tangled curls from Izumi's face. Yes. But God help the world when she burns out in public. Someone's gonna try to arrest her and end up spooning her on national television. I'm gonna request hazard pay. Meanwhile, Machi the cat sat atop the windowsill, tail flicking thoughtfully as he watched the disaster unfold. He blinked. He yawned. He judged them all silently. HPSC monitoring report subject. Midoriya, Izumi incident. Code pink, burnout cuddle storm location. Civilian apartment emotional fallout. Victims hours lost to unexpected cuddles philosophical crisis recommended action. Install recovery protocols in sensory classroom train key friends in emergency detachment procedures do not allow burnout mode during televised events final scene when Inko arrived to pick up Izumi, she found her daughter curled up between a twitchy Katsuki and a dazed Saiko. All wrapped in 2 blankets, a cat, and a string of LED fairy lights. Inko smiled, took a picture, and muttered, "This one's going in the scrapbook." 38 a.m. The prelude Izumi Midoriya woke up with the gut-wrenching sensation that the universe was actively trying to murder her uterus. At first, she thought she had been shot. Then maybe she was dying from internal combustion. Then, the realization struck. Oh my God, I'm leaking. Inko Midoriya, to her eternal credit, was prepared for this day. She had a folder labeled Operation Crimson Dawn and a stockpile of every sanitary product on the market. What she wasn't prepared for was the emotional fallout that came with it. Why is my uterus punishing me, Mom? I didn't do anything wrong. Sweetie, it's perfectly normal. Normal? If this is normal, then why am I craving chocolate while simultaneously questioning the existence of the human reproductive system? 45 a.m. Arrival at school despite the chaos. Izumi insisted on going to class. But because Katsuki said if she missed another school day, he'd make her do his chores for a week. Wrapped in a giant hoodie, her school uniform half forgotten underneath, and clutching a portable heating pad like a lifeline, Izumi waddled into the building like a battle-weary veteran. Saiko took one look at her and sipped her tea ominously. It has begun. 15 a.m. math class. Izumi attempted to concentrate, but the combination of hormones, cramps, and mental chaos produced a stream of nonsensical doodles in her notebook. She labeled one, mathematical proof that chocolate is the 6th element, another, why God must be a SST, a uterine thesis. By the time Katsuki glanced over, she had drawn a blueprint for a uterus-shaped heat-seeking missile. Midoriya, are you okay? The teacher asked. Izumi stood up dramatically, holding a heating pad like a sacred artifact. I am bleeding for a week straight without dying. Am I okay? Sir, I am a miracle. 40 m. Health class. The cataclysm now. If this were a normal day, health class would have gone like this. A quiet video, a couple of embarrassed questions, some awkward giggles, but today was not a normal day. Today, the teacher decided to do the talks. Alright class. Today we're discussing reproduction, MSTRTN, and human sexuality. Everyone froze. Everyone except Izumi. Because Izumi, bleeding and hormonal, sat up bolt straight like a mythological creature sensing BLD in the air. You mean to tell me that the reason I'm in pain right now is because my body thinks I might be making a baby? Sir, I am 12. I still eat glue if it's glittery. I am not qualified for baby creation. The class was in stitches. One student fainted from secondhand embarrassment. 43 a.m. Descent into chaos. Izumi stood. Katsuki muttered, "Oh no." Saiko whispered, "Brace for impact." Let me get this straight, Izumi ranted. Once a month my body prepares an egg for a sperm that may or may not show up, like a horrible biological RSVP system. The teacher blinked. And if no sperm arrives, my uterus throws a temper tantrum and explodes the walls. The health teacher tried to speak. He really did. But Izumi was on a hormonal warpath. And don't get me started on PRGNCY. You mean it's 10 months of nausea, pain, swelling, and then you have to shoot a baby out of your body like a meat cannon. Katsuki turned to Psycho. This is why we don't let her do public speaking during Herm storms. Noted. 50 a.m. maximum over cramp. Eventually, Izumi sat down. Wrapped in her hoodie, clutching chocolate that someone panic offered, heating pad on her abdomen, muttering, "Curse the egg," like a dark priestess. The teacher stood in stunned silence. One brave classmate asked, "Are you okay, Midoriya?" "No. I want to eat a mountain of chocolate, cry over a squirrel, punch the sun, and cuddle someone who smells like lemon shampoo." Katsuki wordlessly handed her a bar of dark chocolate. Psycho dropped a plushie into her lap. Machi appeared out of nowhere and curled up against her lap. Peace was restored. Kind of. 00 p.m. HPSC notes. Redacted subject. Midoriya, Izumi incident report. Health class Herm hurricane. Notable quotes. Curse the egg. The uterus is a vindictive fruit roll-up. Why would I want to make a baby? I still think shadows are ghosts. Psych evaluation update. Emotional resilience. Exceptional hormonal chaos response. Nuclear recommend. Do not assign public speaking during Ovaltine or MSRTN. Current status. Wrapped in blankets, eating chocolate, threatening to file a formal complaint with God. 30 p.m. After school. Izumi, now mostly comatose and high on chocolate, lay flopped across the couch at Psycho's place. "Guys, if I ever have to do this again, you will." "Every month," Psycho said calmly. Izumi groaned like a haunted kettle. "Cancel womanhood. Unsubscribe." Katsuki flopped beside her with a snort. "You survived." "Barely. I'm gonna invent a uterine office W," she mumbled. "Call it the Ovary Obliterator." Title: Project Snuggletummy. Filed under Midoriya, Izumi, Inventions/Accidental Health Hazards/Mild Legal Panic. Location: UA Pre-Academy. ThinkLab. Time: afternoon. Post-PRD recovery phase. 00 p.m. The spark of genius. Izumi had recovered from her MSTRTN-induced meltdown with vengeful creative energy. Wrapped in a cocoon of soft blankets, snuggling a hot water bottle named Sir Toasting Ton 3, she sat at her personal inventor's bench, muttering with the intensity of a mad scientist on a sugar high. Okay, so problem: uterus pain. Solution: vibrational distraction therapy using sonic frequencies, localized compression, temperature modulation, and serotonin triggers. Translation: she was going to invent something to hug her stomach and make it stop hurting. I shall call it Project Snuggletummy. She fashioned it from a set of compression therapy fabric sleeves, soft plush material shaped like a cat, vibrating nodes with adjustable frequencies, a heating coil powered by a safe microcore battery, a scent emitter, lavender and vanilla, soft audio speakers programmed to purr and play gentle binaural beats. By the time she was done, the machine looked like a weighted purring plush belly wrap, complete with cat ears, a chibi face, and a button that meowed when pressed. It's perfect. It's cute. It's functional. It shall destroy immense suffering. She strapped it around her stomach, pressed the purring button. And then something happened. 07 p.m., the moment Izumi froze. Her pupils dilated. Her legs twitched. Her face turned scarlet. "Oh, wow," she let out a squeak that could have shattered glass. Machi, her emotional support cat, tilted his head in confusion. The vibration from the device had hit precisely the spot over her most nerve-dense skin cluster, just above her uterus. The mix of heat, pressure, purring, and tactile vibration overloaded her pleasure response. For context, Izumi's sensory issues meant she could feel textures on a molecular level. Her skin was wired like a supercomputer crossed with a lightning rod. And she had just built a machine that was, technically, vibrating her uterus in just the right way to STMLT endorphins and oxytocin like a jackpot slot machine. I feel like I'm floating through space made of hot cocoa. 12 p.m., Discovery. Katsuki walked in. Saw her lying on the floor, hugging herself, blushing furiously, whispering, "Snuggly bliss," over and over again. He paused. "What the hell did you build this time?" She handed him the blueprints with a trembling hand and a loopy grin. "It snuggles your tummy and makes all the pain go away." Katsuki read. His face turned pale. His eye twitched. Oh no. Oh hell no. 00 p.m. Emergency teacher meeting. The faculty gathered in the staff room. On the table sat Project Snuggle Tummy, like a ticking time bomb made of plush and giggles. Saiko sipped her tea with a kind of resigned dread. Katsuki sat at a distance, staring into space like a soldier recalling war trauma. Principal Nizu had tears in his eyes. From laughing. She accidentally created a therapeutic device that stimulates euphoric zones via direct skin interaction. Miss Azome was the first to recover enough to speak. Okay, we need to handle this delicately. We can't have a literal 12-year-old unknowingly inventing the first commercial-grade pleasure wrap designed for uterine SMLTN. It purrs, Saiko added helpfully. And meows. And smells like cookies. They stared at the device in silence. 15 p.m., the legal panic begins. HPSC review file. Subject: Midoriya, Izumi incident classification. Unintentional creation of medical-adjacent sensory device with erogenous side effects. Subject did not demonstrate any SXL awareness or intent. She is, in fact, emotionally and cognitively oblivious to any romantic or SXL implications. Her words were, quote, "It's like hugging a marshmallow made of serotonin." HPSC recommendation: do not allow unsupervised prototype testing involving personal body zones. Assign adult female technical supervisor for MNSTRTN-related invention attempts. Immediately rebrand the device as a sensory soothing wrap. Never refer to it by its original name. Ever. Legal Department notes: please do not make us explain this in a court of law. 00 p.m., the Aftermath Inco had to sit Izumi down and explain, very gently, why maybe her invention needed to be adjusted. Izumi blinked. So, it's too good at stopping the pain. Well, yes. So, I invented something revolutionary, right? Inko sighed. Yes, sweetie. You might have changed the future of MNSTRL pain management. But we have to modify the design. Izumi, ever innocent, pumped a fist in the air. That's a win, baby. Machi meowed. 00 p.m., final notes device status. Renamed Sensory Relief Wrap, modified to reduce direct vibrational STMLTN intensity. Still purrs. Still smells like cookies. Currently being patented as a medically approved therapeutic tool. Izumi status. Cheerfully building a mood ring but for hormones. Project still has no idea she almost created the world's most innocent SEC toy. Hugged Katsuki for 20 minutes while chanting, "Team Science wins again." Katsuki has not emotionally recovered. Saiko's journal entry: that night, Izumi remains entirely unaware of the chaos she causes. Her mind is a pinball machine of genius and glitter. I fear what she will do next. I also have a $50 bet that she accidentally invents cold fusion by age 14 while trying to make a better kettle. 45 m. A lesson no one was ready for. Health class had always been one of the more calm PRDs on Izumi's schedule, mostly because it wasn't science or inventing, aka things that could end in explosions or breakthrough patents. Miss Hanazawa, the health teacher, had only joined the school 3 months ago. She was in her late 20s, enthusiastic, and just a bit overconfident. Today, she had made a choice. A terrible choice. All right, class. Today we're covering human reproduction. Everyone open your books to Chapter 11, The Miracle of Life. The collective groan from half the classroom was almost loud enough to hide the faint sound of Katsuki's forehead hitting his desk. Izumi blinked. She flipped her book open eagerly. Oh, miracle. Is this gonna be about how babies are built? Wait, is it like organ 3D printing? Katsuki silently mouthed, "Save me," to Saiko. 50 a.m., Step 1. A vocabulary minefield. Miss Hanazawa smiled as she clicked on the digital board. Terms began popping up: sperm ovum fertilization, uterus, vaginal canal, LBR, CRVX, PLCNT. Izumi, a scientific prodigy, read each one carefully, and then tilted her head like a confused golden retriever. Are we assembling something? Katsuki made a strangled sound. Saiko calmly took a deep sip of her tea. No, Izumi. This is about, natural biology. Not engineering. Izumi scribbled something in her notes. 𝐻𝐻's portable nutrient chamber. 55 a.m. The video Miss Hanazawa, still beaming, introduced the educational short film. Now class, I want you to understand that childbirth is a natural, appealing process. So we're going to watch a short video of a real BR. It's a bit intense, but educational. Katsuki, nope. Psycho, I will require emotional support tea after this. Izumi, wait, real-life baby creation. OMG, show me, I wanna learn. 00 a.m. The video begins, the screen faded in. Gentle music. A soft narrator. Izumi's face was beaming with excitement. Then, the woman on screen began pushing. The scream started. The crowning happened. Izumi leaned forward in amazement. Is that the head? Is she, oh my god, is that a real baby? Is that a whole person? Is that her vgna stretching? Why is it stretching? Half the class was cringing. 3 kids cried. Katsuki pulled his hoodie over his face and whispered, please kill me. Psycho's soul left her body. Izumi. She was fascinated. Completely untouched by the horror. Innocent to a cosmic degree. This is amazing. Humans are so squishy but so powerful. It's like watching a human 3D printer in reverse. How is the head so big? Why is no one helping her? I have so many questions. 10 a.m. The questions begin. The video ended. Miss Hanazawa turned back to the class, pale, sweating, regretting every career choice she'd ever made. Izumi raised her hand. So, if the baby is made from one cell and it grows inside the uterus, which is like a biological pocket dimension, how does it know when to come out? Is there like a timer? Is the 𝐶𝐿 like a wireless charging station? Also, where do they put the baby when it's out? Does it go back in if you change your mind? Do the muscles auto-repair after? Can you do it twice? Why don't they just use zipper stitches instead of ripping? Miss Hanazawa blinked. Also, how do you even get the SPRM in the uterus? Do you, like, pour it in with a funnel? The room exploded into chaos. Katsuki slammed his head into the desk. Psycho simply whispered, you did this to yourself, Hanazawa. 30 a.m. The staff room emergency debrief. Miss Hanazawa, emotionally defeated, slumped in the teacher's lounge, sipping cold coffee and shaking. I didn't know. She was so cute. I thought she'd get bored or embarrassed and zone out like the other kids. Miss Azome patted her back sympathetically. No. You put the most curious child in Japan in a room and gave her access to exactly the kind of information her brain thrives on. She is the serotonin nuke. She is the chaos marshmallow. And now she knows how babies are made. She asked if babies can be returned for upgrades, Hanazawa whispered. 00 p.m. Izumi's summary essay. The class had been assigned a 250-word essay. Izumi handed in 4 typed pages, complete with diagrams, citations, and a hypothesis about using vibration therapy to ease contractions based on her earlier invention. Title: The Biological Wonder of Uterine Muscle Adaptability and Childbirth Engineering Potential. Conclusion paragraph. BRH is like downloading a human from biological Wi-Fi. I think women are superheroes. Also, I think the vgna is basically a natural hyperadaptive material chamber that needs way more respect. Miss Hanazawa cried. 00 p.m. HPSC Medical File Addendum. Subject: Midoriya, Izumi. Note: following today's health class incident, it has come to our attention that subject possesses no romantic or SXL contextual understanding, no embarrassment filter, and innocent brilliance that makes standard SEC ed procedures profoundly unprepared for her addendum recommendation. Health education to be delivered via customized science modules approved by neurologists, biologists, and a therapist. Any future videos to be pre-screened and sanitized for Izumi's sake and ours. Immediate therapy support for her health teacher. 30 p.m. Katsuki's notebook entry. She asked if babies were downloaded from the cloud. She called the 𝐶𝐿 a Wi-Fi router. She said the umbilical cord was a biological Ethernet cable. I'm done. I'm actually done. I'm going to live in a cave. 00 p.m. Psycho's tea reflection. Today, I witnessed the full destructive capacity of weaponized innocence. The only thing more terrifying than Izumi's ADHD-fueled energy is her ability to ask questions no one can answer without crying. I admire her. I fear her. I need more tea. 15 p.m. Hope dies again after barely surviving the reproduction talk of doom. Ms. Hanazawa sat before her class with the haunted look of a woman who had seen the abyss and tried to lecture it about PBRY. She looked at her notes and realized what was next: BRST development and LCTTN. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, whispered a prayer to whatever God protects teachers, and turned on the projector. 16 p.m. The moment everything went wrong again. Slide title: Mammary glands, functions and development. Izumi gasped so loudly several students flinched. We're learning about bub. Technically, Gus, I love melons. Katsuki made a choking noise. Psycho did not look up from her tea. Izumi, meanwhile, was already taking notes like this was Nobel-worthy. I've always wondered, why do they get bigger during PBR2Y? What triggers milk production? Is it HERM-regulated protein synthesis? Could you replicate that in controlled lab settings? Miss Hanazawa tried to steer the ship back on course. BRSTs are composed mostly of fatty tissue and milk ducts. During PBR2Y, estrogen causes them to develop. Their primary biological function is for feeding infants. Izumi's hand shot up like she was launching a satellite. So they're like mini biological dispensers. Ms. Hanazawa paused. I suppose in a way, yes. Like drink dispensers but for babies. Very biologically simplified, but yes. 20 p.m. The milk situation. Izumi stared at the diagram of the milk ducts in stunned awe. So the milk is produced inside the body when someone's arginine tea. Is that like cellular level recipe activation? Does the milk flavor change based on what they eat? What's the protein ratio? Can it be manipulated? Katsuki had entered full mental shutdown. She's gonna make a BRST-based beverage machine, he muttered. Psycho looked up slowly. I give it 15 minutes. 25 p.m. Izumi's first scientific proposal. Without waiting for further instructions, Izumi tore a page out of her notebook and began furiously sketching. If we assume BRST tissue growth is regulated by estrogen sensitivity and nutrient intake, then a targeted stimulant could enhance natural development without surgery. Ms. Hanazawa blinked. What? What if we engineered a wearable patch that uses microvibrations and thermal feedback to stimulate mammary gland expansion, paired with amino acid absorption boosters and estrogen mimetics extracted from tofu derivatives? Psycho, you're making a melon's growth patch. She's making a melon's growth patch. Katsuki, why are you letting her do this? I'm doing science. 30 p.m. The prototype sketch, yes, already on her tablet. Izumi presented Project Marshmallow Boost V1. 0. It included microthermic STMLTN to simulate hormonal heat mapping, hypoallergenic adhesive for skin safety, targeted amino acid enhancers, and fatty tissue support gel. Bluetooth connectivity for progress tracking via smartphone. You can literally grow your melons without a scalpel. It's like gardening but for your chest. 32 p.m. Emergency staff call. A blur past the open classroom door. It was Miss Izumi. She had seen the whiteboard from the hallway. What is she doing? Making non-invasive BRST enhancements. Izumi said cheerfully. It's technically possible with biochemical regulation. Miss Izumi's soul left her body. We are going to be sued into a crater. 40 p.m. Faculty emergency meeting. Ms. Hanazawa stood in front of the health board. I didn't expect her to invent a biotech product in 20 minutes. The principal, you let Izumi Midoriya hear the word LCT in an academic setting. Hanazawa, it was in the curriculum. Miss Izumi, so is learning about digestion. If you say the word enzymes near her, she'll build a gut biome reactor. 00 p.m. Izumi's afternoon journal entry. Today I learned about mammary glands. Did you know they're full of ducts and milk sacs and are functionally nutrient dispensers for baby humans? That's amazing. I invented something to help with tissue expansion for people who feel insecure about chest size. Also, I want to try almond milk instead of regular milk to see if it changes flavor production. Attach doodles. A BRST stimulator shaped like a cat paw, an alternate design featuring tiny vibrating wings, for comfort, a sticker that says, Boosty Buddy. With sparkles, 00 p.m., HPSC file addendum subject, Midoriya, Izumi update, created a non-invasive device for herm-free BRST enhancement. Uses science, not surgery. Appears unaware of its social implications. Describes it as a friendship machine for melons. Directive: do not allow her TO present this at the school invention fair. Seriously. Do not. Assign an adult. Supervisor with medical training. Also assign 2 therapists. And a lawyer. Epilogue: Psycho's T reflection again. It started as a lesson on biology. It ended with a child creating ethical biohacking technology for chest enhancement. She made a Wi-Fi-enabled melons patch. There is no God. There is only Midoriya. She turned lead into gold. By accident. Because she wanted her massage robot to feel more cozy. Actual dialogue recorded at the Hero Public Safety Commission Emergency Science Ethics Board meeting, 1:24 p.m. Location: Midoriya Household Garage/Lab Time, 9:13 a.m., Saturday. Age: Izumi Midoriya, 13 years old. IQ, still approximately 615, probably higher vibe, massively caffeinated golden retriever in a lab coat. It started with a squeaky bolt. Izumi had been working on her latest project, the Cozy Massage Friend Mark 7, an autonomous robot designed for full-body massages that could identify tension points, apply pressure, adjust heat settings, and, this was crucial, wrap you in a weighted blanket made of breathable fabrics. Naturally, this involved an experimental microfusion reactor, a recalibrated skin temperature matrix, and something she called hyper-responsive cuddly actuators. Also, she wanted the robot to be warm to the touch but also kinda plushy like a baby seal. No big deal. 20 a.m., lead-based lubricant incident. She couldn't get the synthetic dermal plates to flex properly under pressure. Stupid metal's too brittle, she muttered, chewing on the tip of her pen. So she did what any genius ADHD-fueled teen would do. She poured a custom lubricant blend on the robotic skeleton, using the heaviest element she could find with stable atomic bonds, lead. I bet I can quantum align the particles so the plates flow like butter but bounce like pudding. And that's where it went off the rails. 41 a.m., gold happens. The lead coating was suddenly shimmering. Not just shimmering, glowing even. The robotic chest panel of the Cozy Massage Friend was now filled, pure, atomic, filled. Izumi blinked, reached over, tapped it. Clink. I don't remember using gold. She held up the leftover lead lubricant. Still lead. She looked at the now golden robot. Definitely not lead anymore. She tilted her head. Did I make alchemy by accident? 00 a.m., scientific method. Never heard of it. Her lab notebook now had a new section titled, Oops. Filled. She retraced her steps. Recorded the lubricant ratios. Sketched the thermal overlay map. Noted the harmonic vibration pattern used to simulate muscle tension. Maybe the cozy actuators hit a frequency that rearranged atomic structure. That shouldn't work. Wait. Maybe it should. 45 a.m., live call. Psycho and Katsuki. Izumi, still in her caffeine-stained hoodie, called her best friends. Hey guys, how do I tell if I accidentally broke the laws of physics again? Katsuki, what did you do? Psycho, sipping tea, did you invent teleportation? Nope. Psycho, time travel. Not this week. Psycho, black hole in the fridge again. Only a tiny one. Psycho, narrowed eyes. Izumi, I think I figured out how to turn lead into gold. Silence. Katsuki, she did alchemy. She did freaking alchemy. 00 p.m., HPSC alerted after confirming that the transformation was atomic and stable, and not just a surface chemical illusion. Izumi sent a casual FYI email to her HPSC handler. Subject line, So, I might have made gold by accident. Please advise. The entire commission went on red alert. 30 p.m. Emergency ethics meeting transcription begins. Director Saito. She made alchemy real. She's 13. Quirk Research Division Chief. We're still not done processing her melons patch incident, and now she's turning base elements into noble metals. Economic Impact Analyst. If she replicates this, the global economy could collapse. Psychologist. She thinks she did it on accident while making a robot that gives hugs. All present, groaning sounds of existential dread. 45 p.m. Home visit. A very polite team of scientists, economists, therapists, and lawyers showed up to Izumi's front door. Machi the support cat hissed at them once, then laid on the golden robot like a throne. Izumi offered everyone juice boxes and homemade cookies. I also made a heated kneading pillow that purrs when you hug it. Dr. Nakamura Economics. Young lady, do you know what you've done? Izumi tilted her head. I made cozy massage friend shiny. Dr. Yamada Physicist. You performed nuclear-level transmutation. You invented working alchemy. Oh, that. I named the formula project Cuddle Transmutation. The team collectively wept. 30 p.m. Results. After extensive analysis, the scientists concluded the following. Izumi had unintentionally replicated a theoretical quantum transmutation field using vibration, heat, synthetic skin conductivity, and harmonic resonance. Her invention had created a stable environment where lead atoms absorbed stray particles and restructured into gold nuclei. It was repeatable. Izumi didn't understand why it worked. She just wanted the robot to feel really snuggly, you know. 00 p.m. Inko's reaction. Inko fainted. Then woke up, gave her daughter the biggest hug ever, and said, Sweetie, next time you accidentally disrupt international trade, please warn me in advance so I can buy stock. 15 p.m. Katsuki's suffering Katsuki Bakugo stared at the cozy massage friend Mark 7. It purred. It radiated warmth. It had golden arms and laser-guided backneaters. Izumi beamed. Do you want one? I can make it say your name when it hugs you. Katsuki, I don't want a massage robot that says boom boom when it cuddles me. Too late. 00 p.m. Final notes. HPSC subject. Midoriya, Izumi update, developed functioning atomic transmutation method. Refuses to monetize. Claims, money is boring. Still thinks this is all kinda cool, I guess. Now actively working on golden cat pajamas. Recommendation, continue psychological observation. Increase funding for her lab snacks budget. Never, ever let her near CERN. This shouldn't be legal. It is though. Why is it purring? Why is she drooling and glowing at the same time? Overheard during live HPSC surveillance feed, 5:43 p.m. Japan Standard Time location. Midoriya household lab/living room hybrid time, 5:15 p.m. date. Same day as the discovery of transmutation subject. Izumi Midoriya objective. Test the cozy massage friend Mark 7. It was time. Izumi, still wearing a lab coat that had at least 6 safety pins holding it together, clutched a hot cocoa with both hands and stared at her creation with the sort of reverence one usually reserved for deities or perfectly organized stationary aisles. The cozy massage friend Mark 7, now fully operational and partially plated in actual gold, stood silently beside her, gently emitting ambient purring noises and a calming scent that she had infused with her custom, relax blend, lavender, catnip, and something she called sleepy vanilla. Okay, cozy. Let's see what you've got, she chirped as she flopped onto the reclining couch pad, arms flung dramatically over her head. The robot made a soft mechanical cooing noise. Its weighted memory foam arms unfolded. A golden servo paw gently patted Izumi's head. Beginning therapeutic compression 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲, Izumi-chan, it announced in a gentle voice she modeled after a mashup of Big Sister AI and her favorite cartoon mom. 18 p.m. The first 10 seconds the arms wrapped around her. Weighted pressure pads began kneading her back in alternating wave patterns. Her legs were elevated. Her spine aligned itself with a subtle vertebral scanner. And then the nape kneader activated. Oh sweet mother of serotonin. she melted. Literally slid 2 inches down the cushion like a stick of butter left on a summer windowsill. Her mouth hung slightly open, eyes glazed with euphoria, fingers twitching with glee. Oh my god, 20 p.m., the purring pressure pulse seal begins, a warm weighted blanket extended automatically over her body. The shoulder pulses activated, miniaturized motors applied deep, rhythmic pressure, aligned to her biorhythmic tension points, something she discovered using guesswork and a lot of screaming into pillows. And then it purred. The robot purred. The same frequency a cat uses to heal bones. Then, my bones are drinking hot chocolate. 23 p.m., brain bliss lock, detected. Izumi's body went slack. Her hair fluffed. Her cheeks were glowing. She smelled like someone who had ascended to heaven, taken a nap in a sunbeam, and came back with a mild halo and a dazed smile. She was twitching slightly from the sheer volume of oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins being dumped into her bloodstream. Her skin flushed. Her body temperature stabilized at 98.7 degrees Fahrenheit. She drooled onto the heated chest pillow with a sleepy squeak. So warm. 25 p.m., Machi the cat joins. Machi, her emotional support cat, watched the process with intense scrutiny, and then leapt onto the robot's lap and curled up. The robot adapted instantly, adjusting weight distribution to support Machi without disturbing Izumi. They both purred. They synced. Witnesses described the sight as illegal levels of adorable. Meanwhile, at the HPSC surveillance room, 5:27 p.m., 15 analysts stared at the feed from Izumi's living room in horror. No one spoke for a full minute. Even the designated containment psychologist was speechless. One agent finally asked, "What is that robot doing to her?" Dr. Sato, tech specialist, "It's giving her a massage." "Just a massage." Dr. Sato, "A very effective one." 29 p.m., internal discussion begins. Agent Nakamura, "She turned lead into gold. And then she built a robot that could liquefy a human through comfort." Director Hayama, "It's still technically a domestic healthcare device." Legal department, "We combed every regulation. The robot is 100% legal. No unauthorized emitters, no quirk integration, no AIs above Tier 2 awareness. Just works." Economist, "If she mass-produces these, therapy demand will plummet. Crime might drop. Spas will riot." Technologist, "It's somehow comforting people on a cellular level. We're tracking a measurable reduction in her cortisol through a grainy webcam." Head of quirk containment, "Is this how the world ends? In cuddles?" 34 p.m., Izumi's verdict. She raised her arm weakly and muttered with a smile, 10 out of 10, would recommend. Cozy, she fell asleep. Still smiling. Still glowing. Still melting. Machi blinked once, gave the HPSC camera a look that could only be interpreted as smug victory, and resumed purring. 35 p.m., final assessment. HPSC emergency memo #1971, 8 subject, Midoriya, Izumi quirk, cognitive overclock codename, infinity brain risk status, redacted observational addendum. Unintentionally invented functional alchemy. Created a fully legal, medically safe robot that simulates spiritual rebirth via cuddles. Current mood status, slightly melted. Emotional signature detected, divine bliss. Conclusion, we don't know what to do anymore. She's a serotonin nuke. A one-girl revolution. The world isn't ready. The bell rang for lunch. The usual chaos began to stir as students spilled into the cafeteria, trading food, gossip, and the occasional quirk-fueled disaster. But today, a different kind of spectacle was brewing. At the center of it all stood Izumi Midoriya, hoodie still bright as ever, eyes sparkling with that unsettling mixture of sugar, energy, and utter conviction. She had discovered something new, and she was ready to share it with the world. 05 p.m., the announcement. Izumi climbed atop one of the cafeteria tables, clutching her lunch tray like a podium. "Everyone, I have an important message about communism." Head swiveled. Phones paused mid-swipe. Katsuki, slouched by the snack table, sighed. "Oh God. Communism, right? Izumi began, waving a half-eaten pudding cup. It's supposed to be all about sharing and fairness and making sure nobody's left hungry. A small crowd gathered, intrigued, confused, and somewhat nervous. But here's the thing, Izumi continued, eyes wide. It should have worked. I mean, the idea is sound. No rich people, no poor people. Everyone shares everything. But it didn't work. What? She paused dramatically, scanning faces. Greed. That's the villain of the story. Humans got greedy. They couldn't resist having more for themselves. From somewhere behind her backpack, Izumi suddenly pulled out a hammer and sickle, gleaming and surprisingly well-crafted. The cafeteria went completely silent. The food court chatter halted mid-chew. "Well, where did you even get that?" a student whispered. Izumi blinked, confused herself. "I dunno. It was in my bag." Before anyone could react further, Izumi grabbed a large Soviet Union flag from her backpack. Where it came from was anyone's guess, and triumphantly draped it over the table. 10 p.m. The speech gets real with the Soviet flag waving behind her like a banner of revolution. Izumi leaned forward and adopted her most serious TED Talk tone. "So, communism should have been perfect, right? But humans are complicated. They want things for themselves. They want power. They want to be the boss." Katsuki rolled his eyes so hard they almost escaped his skull. "And capitalism," Izumi continued, "is the opposite. It's like a big game where everyone tries to be better than everyone else, and sometimes that's good, it pushes people to work hard, but sometimes it just makes people fight and be mean." Her foot tapped energetically, barely containing her excitement. "So, what if," she said, "we could have the good parts of communism without the greed?" Heads turned toward her like moths to a bright, chaotic flame. Imagine a world where everyone shares but also gets to keep what they need. A world where nobody is a capitalist villain, but also nobody has to be a greedy tyrant. She grinned. "We just need a better plan." 15 p.m., questions and chaos. A brave student raised their hand. "Izumi, where did you get the hammer and sickle? Also, why do you have a Soviet flag in your backpack?" Izumi blinked, looked behind her, and shrugged. "Maybe Machi the cat put it there. You know how she is with shiny stuff." Someone nearby gasped. "You mean the emotional support cat?" "Yep." Izumi nodded. "Machi's the best. She's like my secret weapon against boredom." Katsuki muttered, "Secret weapon? More like secret chaos." 20 p.m., the unexpected encore. Izumi hopped down from the table, flag still draped, hammer and sickle in hand. "Okay, that's my TED Talk. Remember, communism was an amazing idea ruined by human flaws, but the dream still lives." She gave a big grin and then, in typical Izumi fashion, launched into an impromptu victory dance, hammer and sickle in one hand, flag trailing behind her like a superhero cape. Students cheered, laughed, and a few took videos, already captioning them. 13-year-old Izumi Midoriya explains communism better than your college professor. Katsuki groaned. "Great. Now the entire school's gonna think she's some kind of political genius gremlin." 25 p.m., staff reactions across the room. Miss Azome whispered to Hanazawa-sensei, "Should we confiscate the flag?" Hanazawa sighed. "We should. But honestly, she's just adorable enough to get away with it." 30 p.m., aftermath. That afternoon, the Soviet flag mysteriously vanished from Izumi's locker. The hammer and sickle were never found again. But the legend of Izumi's communist TED Talk lived on, fueling memes, debates, and a surprisingly intense fan club devoted to Hammer and Sickle Gremlin. 23 p.m., the upload. As the school day dragged on, one brave soul in Class 2B uploaded a 9-minute video to every platform they had access to. Title: 13-year-old girl explains communism and accidentally revives the Soviet Union. No, seriously. Thumbnail: Izumi proudly holding a hammer and sickle, eyes sparkling like a caffeinated cult leader, with the Soviet flag waving majestically behind her. The description simply read, "We don't know where she got the props. We don't know why she's this convincing. All we know is that she might have just committed world history." 12 p.m., TikTok meltdown. The video immediately went viral. On TikTok, The hashtags were trending globally within 45 minutes. Hashtag communist gremlin, hashtag gremlinism, hashtag little Lenin, hashtag sickle speech, hashtag Soviet Midoriya, hashtag quirked up red star shorty. The top comment: this girl just resurrected Marx with sheer serotonin. I'm crying. 01 p.m. Global fallout begins by late afternoon. Former Soviet bloc nations Belarus, Kazakhstan, parts of Ukraine, Moldova, and Kyrgyzstan had announced referendums to rejoin a newly proposed neo-Soviet alliance. Cuba, Venezuela, and Bolivia declared Communism is Cool Again Day, complete with parade floats, themed TikTok dances, and free bread. Brazil and Argentina held emergency meetings, but by morning, massive youth-led marches flooded the streets chanting Gremlinism now. 44 p.m., China logs in. The Chinese Communist Party, deeply confused but weirdly impressed, issued a formal diplomatic statement. Izumi Midoriya's interpretation of cooperative economic theory has rekindled the spirit of our founders. We, the People's Republic of China, hereby grant her honorary citizenship, full digital residency rights, and a social credit score of infinity. Alongside this announcement came a mysterious wire transfer. Amount greater than 10 million Japanese yen note, for the glorious restoration of balance. And also because she's kind of adorable. 32 p.m., Russia goes full gremlin. In Russia, things escalated quickly. The Duma reconvened in emergency session. Within 3 hours, the USSR was reformed, but with better branding. Soviet Union too. Zero national anthem was replaced with a lo-fi remix of The Internationale and Izumi's speech. A 20-meter statue of Comrade Izumi was approved for Red Square, depicting her mid-TED Talk pose, putting cup in hand. Putin or whoever's now in charge made a national address. Our savior has arrived, not on tanks or treaties, but on sugar, chaos, and weaponized cuteness. They shipped her a World War II winter military outfit overnight via diplomatic mail. Authentic winterized red army uniform, a fluffy Ushanka with a KGB badge. Izumi thought it stood for Kawaii Gremlin Brigade. A PP-42 with drum magazine, a lovingly handwritten note in Cyrillic with instructions to make the weapon functional again. Izumi, upon opening the package, squealed with joy. They sent me cosplay stuff. 15 p.m., back in Japan. Meanwhile, Izumi was totally unaware of the global chaos she just unleashed. She was sitting cross-legged on the floor, humming happily while feeding Machi the cat spoonfuls of custard. Katsuki sat next to her. Did you restarted the Cold War? No, I didn't, Izumi giggled. That was a TED Talk. A really good one. Psycho, sipping tea, muttered, you broke the world's political compass in under 10 minutes. That should be impossible. Izumi clapped her hands. So I did good. You did something, Katsuki muttered. Not sure if it's good yet. 45 p.m., the news CYCL meltdown all over the world. Headlines were spinning out of control. BBC, 13-year-old accidentally restarts Soviet Union, declared too cute to sanction. CNN, who is Izumi Midoriya? And why did every communist regime just text her heart emojis? Fox News, middle school Marxist. Japan's adorable red menace may be the end of Western civilization. 30 p.m., Backlash sort of. The HPSC held an emergency meeting. She's a minor. She's not even trying to do this. Do we sanction a child for creating international communist momentum? After a full hour of heated debate, they voted to send her a letter reminding her to be more careful with historical symbolism. She used the envelope to make a paper hat. 00 p.m. Final scene. Izumi posed in her new Soviet outfit, fluffy Ushanka perched slightly crooked on her head, holding the PPSH like it was a toy guitar. Is me, Comrade Cutie. Machi meowed from a red star-shaped bed. Katsuki looked to the sky, whispering, this is how the world ends. Not with a bang, but with a gremlin. Age, 14. Location, Midoriya household, 11:34 p.m. Mood, hyperfixation level, cataclysmic. The moment the credits rolled on, cloudy with a chance of meatballs, Izumi's pupils dilated like a cat hearing the treat bag open. She turned slowly to look at the wide-eyed faces of Saiko and Katsuki, both of whom immediately sensed danger. Katsuki, she whispered in the most reverent voice possible, I can do better. Katsuki let out the sound of a tired father whose toddler had just discovered welding torches. No. Whatever it is, no. No. Saiko set down her tea and sighed. We have 2 weeks of peace left before finals. Can we not, to the workshop? Izumi shouted, already sprinting down the hallway in a blur of fuzzy socks and dangerous ideas. The CNCPTN of culinary godhood Izumi's lab, located in what used to be the family garage, was now an industrial nightmare of wires, tech scraps, pink sticky notes, and stress-eating snacks. In the middle of it all, a whiteboard with chaotic scribbles read, Project Nutrafol Goal, Watered Food Problem, Efficiency. Structural Density. Dietary Optimization. Solution, yes. Taped underneath, We Ball. And beside it, a second board, Project Aquasalvage Goal, Trashed Water Problem, Legal Gray Zones. Sanitary Laws. Nuclear Waste. Solution, Lickable. Days later, the machines are born. Machine 1. The Nutrigeddon 5000 looks like a vending machine fused with a cotton candy cannon. Water goes in. A dazzling array of holographic menus let the user select food from 4,823 cuisines across history. Food materializes seconds later in perfect condition. Hot food is actually hot, cold food is exactly 3.7 degrees Celsius. Machine 2. Hydrophoenix X, a small box the size of a microwave. Insert literally anything useless. Broken toys, scrap paper, rotten fruit, a shoe, even government propaganda. Emits a flash of blue light, and out comes a bottle of water so pure it made the Pope cry. Saiko, upon sampling it, declared, This makes Evian taste like pond some. The accidental revolution begins again. Izumi made a single TikTok showing her turning bathwater into cream brulee. Then she turned an old sock into sparkling glacier water. She tagged it, #HydrationGremlin, #FoodCloudWho. #God is real and just tired. The video got 93 million views overnight. 3 days later UN scientists showed up at her house in a panic. The World Health Organization sent a cease and beg letter asking how to safely deploy her water machine in drought zones. Nestle tried to sue her. They lost in 11 different courts simultaneously. Meanwhile, several African nations entered a bidding war over which country got to host the first Izumi water distribution nexus. Chaos in Japan. The Japanese government issued a formal statement. Midoriya Izumi is under no obligation to share her tech, but we kindly request she not destroy the global food and water economy without warning. Izumi responded with a handwritten note. Okay. I'll write a manual. Also, do you want a lasagna? The Prime Minister responded with a yes. HPSC internal report subject. Midoriya, Izumi age, 14 threat level, existential, but adorable summary. Izumi has created machines that solve world hunger, eliminate droughts, and can potentially erase the bottled water industry. She remains unaware of the economic destruction she's causing. She still thinks this is a school science project. Quote from Agent Tanaka. She made beef Wellington from dishwater and giggled the entire time. I'm not sure whether to praise God or fear him. Scene. Midnight, Midoriya kitchen. Izumi stood proudly in her pajamas, hugging both machines while smiling at Katsuki and Saiko. I did a thing, she beamed. You did an apocalypse. Katsuki cried. You just Thanos snapped the entire bottled water industry. Izumi, Saiko said calmly, you turned garbage into purified, artisanal hydration and didn't even flinch. Izumi tilted her head. Yeah. I figured if I'm always thirsty and hungry, then maybe everyone else is too. Machi the cat meowed proudly beside her. Izumi's private notebook entry that she accidentally live-streamed, Day 1 of Nutrigeddon. Saiko says I have to write down everything I invent from now on because last time I reinvented Marxism and 5 countries had a coup. Anyway, I made food rain from a machine and now I'm working on one that turns farts into popcorn. I think I'm getting close. Katsuki says I need to sleep. I say naps are for cowards. P.S. I made boba tea from fog. It was delicious. I'm unstoppable. Global News Reactions. BBC. The girl who ended hunger, 14-year-old rewrites agriculture. Forbes, Midoriya Izumi, youngest billionaire on Earth though she doesn't know it yet. BuzzFeed, we tried gremlin water and ascended to a higher plane. Final scene: Izumi stood in the school courtyard, handing out snack bars made from dew. Kids swarmed her like pigeons. She laughed, cheeks stuffed with takoyaki, and muttered, "Cloudy with a chance of meatballs." More like cloudy with a chance of gremlin supremacy. Katsuki collapsed onto a bench. Psycho sipped tea with trembling hands. Machi sat atop the 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐵 5000, wearing a chef's hat. And somewhere Jeff Bezos cried. Midoriya household, basement laboratory of eternal gremlinism. It started with a single sentence. Okay, but what if I never had to make anything myself ever again? That idea, spoken while Izumi was face-first in a beanbag chair and purring as her massage bot kneaded her like a cat loaf, would be yet another unintentional planetary upheaval. The Lazy Gremlin Protocol. Her whiteboard now read, Project, Laziness Protocol. Subtitle, Work Smarter, Not at All. Step 1. Create Automated BuilderBot. Step 2. Give it schematics for both machines. Step 3. Feed it power and garbage. Step 4. Step 5. Unlimited snacks and hydration for everyone. Staring blankly at her screen with a gummy worm dangling from her lips, Izumi poked Machi's paw. Hey Machi, what if I made a robot to make the robots that make food and water? Machi blinked slowly. Approval was given. Robot created. Gremlin X Prime, 6 mechanical arms. Hover capability says, beep boop, time to make food gods. Every time it activates can produce a fully functional 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐵 5000 and Hydrophoenix X. In 4 minutes flat plays jazz while working. Because Izumi read that jazz increases productivity by sundown, 87 units had been created. By 3 m. Gremlin X units were popping out of a self-replicating factory line she made while waiting for her tea to steep. Cut to, somewhere very dark, very evil and very overwhelmed. All for One, ancient king of evil, was sitting in a very luxurious evil lair with a single thought. What the actual hell is this child? A massive screen played a news report showing an entire drought-stricken village now eating Wagyu beef ramen under a waterfall of strawberry smoothie. Another screen showed Izumi live streaming as she gave one of her robots a little hat and declared it her baby now. A third screen had a meme slideshow, Izumi as Thanos, but with 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐵 in the gauntlet, a communism-chan anime drawing of her waving a Soviet flag, a badly photoshopped Godzilla vs. Midoriya Izumi movie poster, dialogue of doom and dread. All for One, rubbing his temples, 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐵. I'm starting to think I don't want her quirk. 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐵, materializing with T sir. All for One, her intelligence quirk is nearly twice Nisa's. If I stole it, I'd become the smartest being alive. 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐵, yes. That was the plan. All for One, pointing at the screen, she made an AI jazz-building robot because she didn't feel like walking 3 feet to grab her screwdriver. 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐵. Impressive. All for One, and terrifying. Do you know how many world economies have collapsed this week because of her? 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐵, tilts head, 7. All for One, 10. Including the black market. The Yakuza's water smuggling ring filed for bankruptcy. 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐵, so, we continue with recruitment, or? All for One, sweating, 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐵, she made a water purification machine out of a broken Doraemon clock and a glitter glue stick. I'm scared of her. 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐵. All for One, she once turned a chunk of her school desk into a lasagna and asked if she could eat it during class. What kind of mind, what kind of monster, eats wood lasagna? 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐵, nodding solemnly, the strongest kind, sir. Meanwhile, Izumi's lab, Midnight Izumi snored peacefully in a blanket cocoon, her Gremlin X bots softly beeping and building more units around her. One robot gently placed a cookie on her pillow. Another pulled up her fuzzy blanket. A sticky note stuck to the ceiling read, "Gonna automate world peace next. After snack. Love." All for One's final breakdown cut back to the lair. All for One, sobbing into a handkerchief, I wanted the perfect quirk. I got a serotonin ICBM in a gremlin body. 𝐒𝐻𝐿𝐵, so we'll cancel the kidnapping attempt. All for one. You think I want that hyper-intelligent, sugar-fueled chaos goblin in my base? She'll turn Tartarus into a bakery. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲, quietly. With excellent ventilation and universal access ramps. All for one, and she'll do it by accident. Internet reaction montage Reddit post. Midoriya Izumi's robot just gave me foie gras and told me I was appealing. I'm crying. Tweet, why does this 14Y? Oh, have better economic policy than my entire government. YouTube title, we let Gremlin X build 10,000 food machines. Here's what happened next. Final scene Izumi, half awake, hugging Machi. Do you think the food bots could feed aliens? She murmured. Machi blinked. Somewhere, a satellite pinged from deep space. Izumi grinned and mumbled. Good, good. Location, Midoriya household, kitchen laboratory, K. Ground zero for accidental technological enlightenment Izumi Midoriya, age 14, fluffy-haired chaos. Incarnate, stood in the middle of the kitchen wearing frog-print pajamas, goggles far too big for her face, and socks with cats riding pizzas. She was holding a single slice of white bread like it was the One Ring. Okay, Machi, she said with dangerous sincerity. I will defeat the fundamental inadequacy of the toaster. Machi, the emotional support cat, lifelong observer to his owner's accidental godhood, blinked slowly, curled up beside her blueprints, and promptly fell asleep. The problem with toast, I refuse to live in a world, Izumi muttered while pacing, where a bagel gets scorched but a slice of sourdough is barely warmed. And don't even get me started on frozen waffles. She slapped down her latest schematic, Project, 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴 Prime, subtitle, Crisp. Or perish. Meanwhile, at the HPSC agent Kinoshita, 34 years old, disillusioned, drinking his 6th cup of black coffee, stared at a betting pool whiteboard labeled, What will Midoriya accidentally build next? His bet was written in bold blue marker, Kinoshita, $50, fusion generator trying to make a better kettle, she's overdue for a power grid disruption, he muttered. It's gotta happen today. Agent Tanaka, sipping a protein shake in the corner, smirked. She's making toast, not a tokamak reactor. Kinoshita narrowed his eyes. Never underestimate the goblin. Back in the kitchen, enter the toast particle collider. Izumi began muttering at breakneck speed, typing and soldering without even looking at the pieces she was welding together. Toast is just heat application plus bread density variable. But what if you pre-ionize the water particles in the bread to excite the crust formation via contained plasma streams inside a superconductive lattice aligned to Earth's magnetic resonance? Zap. The lights flickered. And then cross-fused deuterium and tritium for stable internal power because batteries are stupid and I forgot to buy more. The lights shut off completely. 10 minutes later, a toasted slice and a nuclear revelation high-pitched were filled the room. Blue light danced through the blinds. Machi sat up like he'd just heard the voice of God. A golden slice of toast, steaming, perfectly even, hovered slightly above a humming chrome obelisk. Izumi giggled. I fixed toast. Outside, streetlights blinked back on. Power surged across the block. In downtown Tokyo, the electric grid's backup systems reported an unknown power stabilizer anchoring local voltage to peak efficiency. At UA College, an entire lab's instruments simultaneously recalibrated without explanation. And in a blacked-out HPSC satellite monitoring station, Agent Kinoshita's moment of victory and horror klaxon blared. Monitors screamed. Unknown power source detected energy type, fusion-based, and unweaponized. Contained. Source, Midoriya, Izumi, Quarter Kitchen. Kinoshita calmly reached for his wallet and held out a trembling hand to Tanaka. Pay up, you coward. The HPSC emergency debrief 30 minutes later, 10 agents in suits surrounded a now very confused Izumi, who was holding her toast and humming softly while petting Machi. Izumi, I swear I was just trying to make something better than a toaster. Also I figured out how to make strawberry jam from sunlight and basil. Agent 1, quietly into headset, she made a goddamn fusion generator. Agent 2, staring at the 𝐒𝐻𝐴𝐴 Prime schematic. It's stable. It's safe. It could replace Japan's power grid. Agent 3 Kinoshita, I want to go home. Meanwhile, All for One's fortress of existential dread monitor flickers on. All for One, sipping evil brand whiskey, nearly drops his glass when he sees the news ticker. 14-year-old girl replaces half of Tokyo's power grid with super toaster. He throws the remote. All for One, she did it again. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲, portals in with a therapist's card, I scheduled you for Tuesdays and Fridays. Group therapy. Final scene, back in the kitchen Izumi bites into her toast. Her eyes light up. Oh, good. Machi purrs in agreement. Izumi spins in a circle, flings her arms out and declares, today we have fixed breakfast, tomorrow we fix dinner. Somewhere, a rice cooker trembled in fear. Location, Midoriya household, Izumi's room. Later that evening Izumi bounced into her room like a hyperactive squirrel on a sugar rush. Around her were textbooks, notebooks, and half-dismantled gadgets strewn everywhere like a tornado of genius and chaos. She held a thick, dusty manual titled in Cyrillic, 42, PPSH 42, Operation and Maintenance Manual, the 13-language marathon. How do people even learn this stuff? Izumi mumbled, flipping pages as if they were mere obstacles in her path. This week alone, fueled by Nutrigeddon 5000 and several cans of energy soda, Izumi had blitzed through Spanish, French, German, Mandarin, Arabic, Hindi, Swahili, Japanese, obviously Korean, Italian, Portuguese, Dutch, Russian. Russian was the one she was most proud of, mostly because it sounded like a secret agent language and she got to say, comrade, every 5 minutes. Cracking the code, the PPSH 42 manual. To her surprise, the manual was nowhere near as complicated as she expected. Instead of technical jargon, it felt like a grandfatherly guide written by a mechanic with a fondness for vodka and blunt honesty. She skimmed a page aloud. Step 1. Remove magazine. Step 2. Pull back the bolt. Step 3. Clean with vodka. Izumi giggled. See? Easy peasy. Just don't use real vodka or the neighbors will complain about the smell. After a few hours of meticulous reading, disassembling and reassembling with her own creative modifications including a custom blue paint job and stickers of cute cats, the PPSH 42 was fully operational. Enter the menace. The next morning, Izumi stormed into the backyard, clutching her refurbished PP42 like it was a magical artifact. Machi darted under the porch in protest. Izumi grinned with that infamous gleam in her eye. Time to have some fun. The neighborhood panic. Izumi didn't plan to cause real trouble. After all, she was the sweetest chaos imaginable, but she was determined to test her new toy. She pointed the PPSH 42 at a stack of empty soda cans and pulled the trigger. Braratatata. The cans exploded in a shower of aluminum confetti. Wow. So satisfying. The unexpected audience down the street, the Bakugos, Psycho, and a few neighbors looked on from behind windows, eyebrows raised. Katsuki grumbled, Izumi's playing with a World War II machine gun again. What the hell? Mitsuki whispered nervously, she doesn't mean anything bad, right? Masaru gulped. Please tell me she's not actually going to. Izumi, oblivious to the concern, began training with the PP42, firing bursts at empty cardboard boxes, trees, and an old tire. Her laughter echoed through the neighborhood, bright and unfiltered. Izumi's mischievous ideas. After emptying 2 magazines, Izumi paused, wiping sweat from her brow. Okay, Operation PPSH Playtime is a success. What if I mounted this on a drone? Or better yet, built a robot that shoots confetti instead of bullets? She scribbled down ideas with frantic enthusiasm. HPSC receives a not-so-secret tip. Back at HPSC headquarters, agents watched a live stream from a hidden drone camera. The feed showed a whirlwind of pink cat stickers, rapid-fire bursts of non-lethal rounds, and Izumi waving wildly with her trademark goofy smile. Agent Kinoshita pinched the bridge of his nose. How is she legal? Legal and ethical. Dilemmas. The HPSC legal department was simultaneously baffled and amused. The PP42 was a historic relic, not a weapon of mass destruction in Izumi's hands. She was firing non-lethal ammo, mostly cans and confetti. Her quirk-induced ADHD and contagious sweetness made prosecuting her a nightmare. Public opinion was surprisingly in favor of the adorable menace with a machine gun. Katsuki and Psycho intervened. Katsuki grumbled as he approached her with a serious look. "Oi, Izumi. Maybe keep the gun indoors. Or at least away from my window." Psycho smirked. "At least she's not using the real ammo." Izumi, with a sheepish smile, nodded. "Oh, but it's so much fun." Izumi's final thoughts that night. Izumi lay in bed next to Machi, humming softly. "Maybe tomorrow, I'll learn how to make a non-lethal nuclear weapon. Or just bake cookies." Machi purred in agreement. Location: Midoriya residence, backyard, 3:42 p.m. It started as a perfectly normal afternoon. Well, normal by Izumi Midoriya standards. Are you seriously trying to calculate the gravitational constant by bouncing a slinky on a trampoline? Katsuki barked, pinching the bridge of his nose. Izumi beamed, holding up her notebook covered in illegible scribbles, equations, and a doodle of a cat with laser eyes. "I call it Izumian gravity induction through kinetic oscillation theory." "That's not a thing," Psycho deadpanned, sipping iced tea from a straw and somehow looking elegant despite being perched on a rusted folding chair. "It is now," Izumi chirped, bouncing in place. "Besides, it's science if I say it with confidence." "Please don't," Katsuki started, but the chaos had already begun. Izumi took 2 energetic steps back to get a better running start at the trampoline, but instead of the solid earth beneath her sneakers, her foot met nothing. Her entire body jolted downward, as if reality glitched, and in a blink, she was gone. Location: the backroom's ambient hum. Buzzing fluorescent lights. A low, wet carpet smell. Infinite emptiness. Izumi hit the floor with a soft thump, blinking rapidly. Ugh. She sat up, eyes wide, surrounded by endless yellow wallpaper, stained ceiling tiles, and flickering fluorescent lights buzzing like dying bees. What the hell kind of lab is this? She got to her feet. The carpet squelched softly under her sneakers. The air was musty. Too dry. It made her tongue feel like sandpaper. "Hello," she called. No answer. Just the hum. An endless, numbing hum. Izumi, for the average person, this would be terrifying. Izumi, however, pet her head, hands on hips, and narrowed her eyes like a curious raccoon in a server room. "This isn't Japan." She began pacing, turning corners, marking each one with a scribble of blue chalk from her utility pouch. After the 6th left turn in a row led to a completely new hallway, she frowned. "Wait a second. Am I in a pocket dimension? This is so cool." Then the lights flickered once. Twice. Then they stayed off for a full 3 seconds. When they turned back on, there was something at the end of the hall. Lanky. Twitching. Too tall. Limbs too long. Head ped to the side like a broken toy. Its skin was a sickly gray and its face had no features, just the outline of where a face should be. "Hello there," Izumi said slowly, stepping back. The entity screamed. Not like a person. It sounded like a modem drowning in acid and nails. "The chase begins, okay, bye." Izumi squealed, spinning on her heel and sprinting like her life depended on it, because it now very much did. The thing followed. It was fast. Unnaturally fast. Every footstep came with a wet crunch like meat hitting linoleum. Izumi ducked into a side hall, grabbed a loose piece of rusted ceiling tile, and flung it like a frisbee. It hit the entity square in the chest. It barely noticed. "You could have just said HI." She shrieked as she rounded a corner, somehow yanking a flashbang from her utility belt. "Thank you, Bakugo, for those just-in-case gadgets." She tossed it over her shoulder and covered her ears. Bang. The lights glitched again. She looked back. The creature stumbled, but didn't stop. "Oh, you gotta be kidding me." Izumi's ADHD versus existential horror for a solid 20 minutes. Izumi zigzagged through the endless maze of rooms. She took mental notes even while running. "The carpet smells like a rotting hotel." All the walls are the same, except that one with the coffee stain shaped like a snail. Why are the lights flickering in a Fibonacci pattern? Eventually, after tripping over a broken piece of carpet and slamming face-first into a vending machine, why was there a vending machine? She decided to take refuge. Inside the machine, she squeezed into it like a raccoon in a recycling bin, knees to chest, and held her breath. The entity skittered by. She counted the seconds in Russian to calm herself. Something? Winks at her. Inside the vending machine was another entity. It looked like a perfectly ordinary plush teddy bear, until it blinked. Izumi blinked back. Do you eat people? Silence. Then the bear nodded. Oh, thanks for the honesty, she said, patting it on the head. But I'm not very tasty. I'm made entirely of ADHD, unmedicated genius, and disappointment. The bear tilted its head, then climbed back into the vending chute and vanished. Meanwhile, Psycho and Katsuki back in the real world. Katsuki was pacing a trench into the backyard. Where the hell did she go? She not clipped, Psycho muttered, checking Izumi's scribbled blueprints of reality layering. Katsuki snapped his head around. What the hell does that even mean? She found a weak spot in reality and fell through. Again. Yes. You think she's okay? Psycho sipped her tea. She's Izumi. The entities are the ones who should be worried. Location: the backrooms, level 16, day 3 of unplanned dimensional knockclip. Izumi Midoriya had been in the backrooms for 72 hours. She had not slept. She had not eaten, unless you counted the suspiciously clean crackers she found inside a vending machine 2 levels up. They might have tasted like existential dread, but at least they were crunchy. She had fought a chair that was too sentient, outwitted a vending machine that only dispensed soap, escaped an elevator with no bottom, and somehow learned to navigate using the hum patterns in the fluorescent lights. Her hair was a mess. Her oversized hoodie now had mysterious stains she could neither identify nor clean. And she still smelled faintly of blueberry muffins. No one knew why. Current location: level 16, the power circuit hellhole. The floor squelched under her feet again, but this time it wasn't carpet. It was some sort of rubberized industrial grating, designed for drainage. Water dripped from exposed pipes overhead, and the walls were streaked with rust. Every 20 feet, she passed another power panel. Some worked. Most didn't. Each was marked with a little red triangle. Her goal was clear: turn on all 5 switches. Avoid the dog. Simple. In theory. The dog, Izumi had seen it once. She had popped open a breaker box, flipped the second SW, and a low, gurgling growl echoed from the shadows behind her. It crawled out from beneath a metal stairwell. 4 legs, all too long and sinewy, coated in slick black fur. A twisted, wrinkled human face sat where its dog's head should have been. The mouth hung open, drooling. The face blinked. And smiled. Oh hell no, Izumi had said, and taken off running with all the might of someone who had zero business surviving this long. Izumi's genius plan: after an hour of hiding in an air duct and surviving on the power of spite alone, she came up with a plan: lure the dog. Use decoys to distract it. Flip all 5 switches. Complain to Katsuki about this for the rest of his natural life. She fashioned a decoy out of broken mop handles, duct tape, and one of her shoelaces. She even added a squeaky toy she stole from another level just to complete the illusion. There, she whispered, wiping sweat from her brow. Perfect. I call him Decoy Doggo 9000. The sound of claws scraping metal echoed in the distance. She gulped. Time to move. SWCH1. Completed easy enough. She crept along a catwalk, avoiding the flickering lights, and flipped the SW. It made a satisfying ka-chunk. A green light flicked on. 4 to go. SWH2. Mid-boss fight. SWH2 was inside a cage room filled with overturned desks and chairs. As she crept in, the dog leapt out of a side hallway like a gremlin with anger management issues. Not today, nightmare Nintendo dog. She threw a flashbang again, thank you, Katsuki, and dove under a table, hitting the SWs just before the dog's claws scraped the ground where her ankle had been. Another ka-chunk. 2 down. She bolted, trailing curses in multiple languages, including Russian, Japanese, and her very own made-up one called Hyperactive Panic Babble, SWH3. Booby-trapped, she nearly lost a finger to a spark burst. Her response? Rude, she muttered, liking the burn and slapping a bandage on it. SWCH flipped. Third green light engaged. SWCH4. The chase. This one was guarded directly by the dog. Izumi pulled out the squeaky toy from her backpack, tossed it down the opposite hallway, and heard the click-clack of claws sprinting after it. Even cursed demon dogs can't resist squeaky noises, she muttered. Flip. Green light. One more to go. SWH5. The trap room. The final SWH sat on a raised platform surrounded by puddles of water and live electrical cables hanging like spaghetti from the ceiling. Izumi's first response was, "Why is OSHA not here?" Then she remembered, no OSHA in the backrooms. She yanked out some RBB gloves from her utility pouch. Of course she had some, did her best not to scream when one cable sparked at her like an angry eel, and tiptoed to the platform. The SWCH was old. She took a deep breath. The fifth green light engaged. The dog didn't like that. The entire floor shuddered. The dog shrieked, an ear-piercing, boiling sound that vibrated her skull like a tuning fork made of regret. It charged the platform. Izumi braced herself, and did the only thing she could think of. She jumped. Not away. Toward it. Using her quirk-infused reflexes, she leapt from the platform, straight over the dog's head, did a front flip midair, landed, and bolted toward the elevator door now glowing with green light. The dog screamed again. But she was faster. Escape. The elevator doors groaned as she hit the panel. The dog was seconds behind her. She slammed her palm into the emergency shut button. Ding. The doors closed just as the dog's claws scraped the metal. Inside the elevator, Izumi collapsed, breathing. She smelled like rust, BLD, sweat, and blueberry muffins again. She looked at her reflection in the mirror. Hair a mess. One sock missing. BLD on her cheek, not hers. Still adorable. She gave a tired thumbs up. Still alive. A Seekate, eldritch horror dog. Meanwhile, in the real world, the HPSC was losing their minds. We've lost visual again. She shouldn't be alive. Should we send in a rescue team? You want to send people into a non-Euclidean horror maze against a girl who built a working reactor in her microwave. No thank you. Day 6 to 9:08 a.m. Location. The Fun Level Backrooms Level 27 Theme. Neon streamer-lit maze, carnival tents, scattered balloons. Izumi woke to a low hum, but not mechanical this time, more like distant party music, muffled yet tantalizing. She sat up, exiting a striped canopy tent that smelled suspiciously like cotton candy, but more synthetic. A flickering sign read, "Welcome to the fun," in bubbly neon letters. She rubbed her greasy bangs. Fun, unless you're a gremlin in a murder labyrinth. Got it. Exploration and first contact. The fun level was unsettlingly cheerful yet ominous. Pastel walls, balloons drifting overhead, bright streamers dangling from unseen ceilings. But there was no carnival atmosphere, no laughter, no games, only the occasional pop of balloons exactly at her comfort threshold. Ahead, shapes danced in the corner of her eyes, figures in lurid party attire, animal masks painted with smiles, and hands waving balloons. Those were the rumored partygoers. Beneath the whimsy, they were killers. Izumi swallowed, clutching mochi. Time to be sneaky, I guess. The puzzle begins on a map tent flap. She found scribbled directions. Pop balloons in order, red, blue, green, yellow. Only then will passage open. Balloon clusters were scattered. The first bunch was just 10 feet ahead. Approach, red cluster. Izumi crouched behind a polka dot column, eyeing the red balloons. She inched forward, slipped a dart from her pouch, and, pop, a single balloon burst. Her heart hammered. From the shadows, slow footfalls. A partygoer's silhouette passed by. She froze. The air stilled. Music abruptly ended. It started again, but from another direction. Phase 2, blue cluster. Izumi moved. Crisp, careful steps. Found the blue balloons. One by one, She popped them quietly with darts. No alarms. Music swelled again. Ahead, green cluster. Phase 3, green cluster chaos at the green balloons. She misjudged a dart and popped 2 instead of 1. A loud pop echoed. Music stopped. A partygoer emerged, masked, balloons in hand. Izumi backed into a balloon arch. Partygoer advanced. She whispered to Machi, "Looks like we can't be polite." She threw the squeaky toy. It went eep. Partygoer spun toward the noise. Functional distraction. She popped a green balloon silently and slipped past. Phase 4, tense close call. She knelt by the yellow cluster. Feet damp. Hand shaking. Pop silence. No music. No moving shadows. Just balloons drifting overhead. A beat passes. The balloons ahead rippled. The partygoers advanced en masse. She sprinted for the exit, but a balloon she popped earlier blocked her path. One partygoer lunged. Izumi spun, dodged, and slipped into a dark alcove. A low guttural hum began. The door opens. A panel slid open in the wall, revealing a yellow-lit staircase downward. She dove through as the partygoers pounded the alcove. Boom like RBB against steel. She slid down, breathing hard, Machi safe in her arms and clutching blueprints. She hit bottom, entered next level. Location, Backrooms Level 42, the Corn Maze Day 6, immediate continuation of Level 27 escape. Emerging into the maze, Izumi tumbled out of the elevator, landing in a field of golden cornstalks that towered over her head. The air smelled faintly of damp earth and popcorn. She brushed her hair off and groaned. Seriously? Corn maze now? Machi meowed anxiously. In the distance, she heard the roar of a chainsaw. Somebody had found a weapon and enjoyed using it. The cell tower puzzle not far ahead, a bizarre structure, 4 cell towers arranged around a crumbling silo. At the base of each, a terminal flashed. Tower A, blue light tower B, green light tower C, red light tower D, yellow light A. Sign flickered. Align signals to escape the maze. Izumi rolled her eyes. Of course, another gremlin puzzle. She pulled out her notebook and started scheming coordinates, humming in multiple languages to focus. First clue from the maze: hand-drawn arrows were scratched into stalks. A note near Tower A read, "Blue to open path." Another near Tower C, "Red next, don't stop." Under green signs a scribble, "Rerun." Yellow sign flickered, Izumi mapped it like a lunatic. That's ACBD then. Her excitement outweighed her dread. Chainsaw roar approaches as she stepped toward Tower A. The roar got louder. Can't run forever, gremlin. Voice too distorted to identify. She hit the tower's base console. Blue light on. Bulu. She smiled. Cross that one off. Tower C first approach. She moved swiftly through the corn maze, slashing stalks aside. Every 20 seconds, the roar followed. Tower C in sight. She reached out and activated it. Red light on. But the ground rumbled, and a figure burst through the cornstalks. A hunched figure swinging a rusty chainsaw. No mask, just a wild grin soaked in shadow. Izumi sprinted. Chainsaw revving. Cornstalk snapping. Tower B and panic. She zigzagged toward Tower B. Blue, red, now green. She hammered the button. Green light on. The chainsaw screeched closer. She ducked behind Tower B and typed, "Last," into console D. The final tower heart pounding. She reached Tower D as the chainsaw wielder crashed into the field. She hit the yellow panel. All 4 lights solid. A hidden exit opened in the silo wall behind her. Chainsaw rev stopped abruptly, then rumbled toward the silo entrance. Izumi dove inside as the chainsaw slasher swung wildly. Corn stalks fell behind them as path closure activated. Corridor to the building inside the silo. A spiral stairwell led down to concrete corridors, fluorescent and damp. Wheat and straw littered the floor. At the end, a heavy metal door with neon letters. Arcade and bowling emporium like a twisted Dave and Buster's. She exchanged hopeful glances with Machi. If we can just get in there? Locked door and final hurdle. The door had a keypad. Solve the code, sum the digits of the tower lights in the order activated. Blue 3, red 5, green 7, yellow. She muttered. 3 plus 5 plus 7 plus 2 17. She typed, the door whisked open. Inside, swirling lights, broken arcade machines, flickering monitors showing static plus one channel displaying Player 1 exit in pixel font. The chainsaw at the threshold. She reached the threshold, but the chainsaw stalked to the entry, saw blade spinning. Izumi froze, then grinned madly. Okay, I think I can outsmart you. She scooped up a handful of corn and tossed it behind the intruder. Cluck, cluck, turned. She darted into the arcade. Inside the building, the hallway led to a dim lobby with dusty bowling lanes and derelict ticket machines. Flashing signs showed scores from previous players, dates aligned with her time in the backrooms. Creepy. She navigated, heart racing. She had no clue what awaited, but it promised unknown challenge and hopefully a way home. Alarm clock time. 2 months after surviving the corn maze backrooms, level 42, Izumi Midoriya, still tattered but unbroken, found herself navigating a surreal, winding spiral staircase. The banality of fluorescent yellow had finally slipped away, and she believed, just believed, that freedom might be just one more level down. She'd counted floors, 6, 96, 69, 69, because why not? In her head, that number felt like the punchline to a cosmic joke. She stepped forward, finally catching sight of a familiar glow below, yellow light. A whisper of hum, just low enough to be comforting. She forced herself to smile. A tear threatened, but she swallowed it. She would make it home. She would. Balancing on the edge of hope, she took a step, misjudged, and slipped. The infinite fall. It wasn't a dramatic tumble. No, it was slipping, like stepping off a curb, but with the weight of 20 years of frustration packed into one moment. Thump. Izumi landed upright, knees bent, in the silent expanse of the yellow office world she remembered too well. Fluorescent lights stretched with hypnotic sameness. Cubicle partitions went on forever. The hum. The stale carpet. The mechanical flicker. A single exit sign blinked in the distance, just over 30 desks away. With a gasp, she closed her eyes. No, 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 no. She tried to stand, but her legs shook. Her vision blurred. She stumbled into a desk cubicle. Her heart pounding so hard she could hear it echo in her ears. Anxiety attacks are real. Her breathing went from steady to ragged, like a vacuum hose with suction set too strong. She had thought so hard that each step downward meant closer to freedom, closer to someone recognizing her. And then, nothing. A glaring pit. She was back where she started. The first cruelty of this place, magnified and sharper. She put her head on the desk, tears leaking as a torrent she didn't recognize welled up. I almost did it. Almost. I was so close, she gasped in panicked breaths. She curled inward. Loose papers trembled on the desk. Motion sensors must have picked up her trembling. Time slowed. Or stopped. A fluorescent bulb flickered overhead. Tears turned to sobs. Sob to hyperventilation. She squeezed Machi, who tucked himself into her hoodie like it was a cocoon. Flashbacks of hope. Quick cuts in her mind flickered. The fun-level balloon puzzle, how she almost danced her way through safely the corn maze with the chainsaw, her heart pounding as she %17 code unlocked escape the PSU test in math, figuring out the gravity problem with a slinky and trampoline, the PPH42 she rebuilt with Russian instructions, even the golden fusion toaster. Proof she once outran despair, all of it. Undone by a single misstep. She's not alone. Tap. Footsteps echoed from behind. She froze. She looked up. She wasn't alone. Enter, a silhouette in a gray suit, head tilted, featureless face. That wasn't just featureless, that was the entity. Breathing heavy, like she was. Head bent, her anxiety hanging on the edge of his gaze. Instead of approaching menacingly, the presence shifted, almost gently. Izumi shoved herself up with supportive determination. Go away. I don't want you. Silence. I'm sorry. It's me. I don't know what came over me. She curled tighter. The world still spun. I can't. A stack of yellow post-its appeared on the desk. She recognized her own handwriting. Breathe. One step at a time. You are still a hero, still brilliant. Tears slid as she read each note. Someone, something, had helped her in the only way this place allowed, by echoing back her own kindness. Decision point, being lost versus moving forward. She closed her eyes and counted to 10. She jerked herself up, knees trembling but present. She pushed herself out of the cubicle. The exit sign above hovered overhead, its arrow pointing a direction she didn't want to go, but she followed. 2 more steps. Her tears dried. Her panic loosened. She exhaled. Okay. The hum lowered. The buzz steadied. The yellow cubicles blurred and gave way to a hallway. Warm light. Safety. Was that the door? White with a handle. She reached out. Hand shaking. But reaching out. Touched it. Gentle. Solid. Maybe it's not over. She exhaled again. And stepped forward. Day 3 of Izumi's disappearance. The sterile room was cold, sterile, and intimidating. Bright fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, mirroring the relentless fluorescent hellscape Izumi was trapped in, a cruel coincidence none of the questioning panel missed. Chairs sat across from a long table, each occupied by a very different pair. Katsuki Bakugo, arms crossed, scowl locked in place as if permanently etched onto his face, and Psycho Intelli, her hands folded neatly in her lap, calm and collected despite the tense atmosphere. The questioning begins. A gray-haired government official cleared his throat, shuffling through a thick file labeled Izumi Midoriya incident. Mr. Bakugo, Ms. Intelli, thank you for coming on such short notice. As you both know, Izumi Midoriya has been missing for 3 days now. We're hoping you can help us piece together what happened. Katsuki's glare didn't soften. Yeah, no problem. We saw what happened. You won't believe it. Psycho smiled faintly, nodding in agreement. Let's just say, Izumi's disappearance was rather unconventional. Describing the knockclip, the official leaned forward, pen poised. Please describe the last time you saw her. Katsuki smirked, his voice biting. It was the day after our fight class. We were hanging around outside the dojo. Izumi was messing around, 2 steps back. Then suddenly she went into the ground. Like actually went inside the floor. No warning. No trapdoor. Just slipped through like a glitch in a video game. The official blinked, doubtful. Went into the ground. Psycho adjusted her glasses. That's right. Clipped, as we call it. It's a term from gaming, walking through solid objects. In Izumi's case, it was horrifyingly real. Katsuki scoffed. Yeah, no joke. 1 second she's standing there, the next she's halfway buried like she fell through a trapdoor. But there was no trapdoor. No hole. Just her sinking into the floor like she didn't belong. Government skepticism. A younger agent typed rapidly into a laptop, eyes flicking between them. Are you sure this wasn't an illusion? Could it have been a quirk? Or perhaps she was pulled through some kind of portal? Psycho folded her hands, voice calm but firm. No illusions. We saw it with our own eyes. No portal, no hole, just Izumi slipping inside the ground as if the laws of physics didn't apply. Katsuki muttered, if it helps, I swear on my life it happened. She just disappeared into the goddamn floor. The room remained silent for a moment, the weight of their words sinking in. Explaining Izumi's quirk and condition, the lead official scribbled in the file. We understand Izumi has a rare and extremely severe case of quirk-induced ADHD. Could this be related? Psycho nodded. Absolutely. Her quirk's power and mental state seem intertwined in unpredictable ways. She's hyper-intelligent, hyperactive, but when overwhelmed, her control over her own body becomes unstable. We believe this is linked to her knock-clipping incident. Katsuki grunted in agreement. Yeah, she's chaotic energy on legs. We've learned to expect the unexpected with her. But this was something else. Describing the emotional impact, the official softened his tone. How are you coping with her disappearance? Psycho's eyes flickered with a rare vulnerability. Izumi is the sweetest person you could ever meet. She's a force of chaos and warmth wrapped in one. Her absence is like a silence we don't know how to fill. Katsuki's scowl twitched. I'm not good with feelings or whatever, but it is 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲. I want her back. I don't care what it takes. Theories and speculation. The panel shifted to a more speculative tone. Do you have any theories on where Izumi might be? Psycho paused thoughtfully. Given what we know, the most logical explanation is that Izumi has entered some sort of interdimensional or spatial anomaly. Her quirk might have accidentally interacted with the fabric of space, creating a knock-clip effect. Katsuki rolled his eyes. Yeah, I'm with Psycho. It's like she got stuck in some crazy backrooms or something. I just hope she's tough enough to get out. The pressure mounts. The officials exchanged glances. We are mobilizing all resources, including HPSC agents and quirk specialists, to locate and rescue her. In the meantime, your cooperation and testimony are invaluable. Katsuki stood abruptly, a fiery glare in his eyes. You better find her. She's not just some project, she's family. Psycho stood as well, calm but resolute. We believe in her. She'll find a way back. Aftermath. Outside the hearing room. As the two friends left the cold chamber, Katsuki muttered under his breath. I swear, if I ever find that ground she fell into, I'm dragging her out myself. Psycho smiled faintly, placing a hand on his shoulder. We'll find her. Together. The weight of Izumi's absence pressed on them both, but also steeled their resolve. 6 months of hell time didn't move properly in the backrooms. It warped, slipping through cracks in perception like water through cupped hands. Izumi Midoriya had long stopped counting the days. After being chased by partygoers, solving cell tower mazes while being hunted by chainsaw maniacs, and accidentally falling down an infinite spiral staircase from floor 6969, Izumi's grip on time, space, and reality was as frayed as her hoodie. Her eyes were sunken, her cheeks hollow. She was more skeleton than gremlin now, arms like twigs, legs like stilts. Her once fluffy hair had flattened from sweat, dust, and the occasional almond water rinse. Her diet for the last 4 months had consisted entirely of crackers so stale they were functionally drywall. Almond water, not the good kind. The slightly tangy horror juice kind. She had survived solely off spite, a fury toward the fluorescent lights, and an undying longing to go home and yell at Katsuki for getting her into that DMN fight class in the first place. The final door, level 0, looped. Then came the stairs. Then more endless mazes. Until a shimmering flicker in a far-off corner. It wasn't dramatic. No glowing portal. No techno-magic vortex. It was a door. Wooden, unassuming, labeled with a sticky note that simply read, Exit. In Comic Sans. Okay, she croaked, lips chapped and voice raspy. If this is another surprise BLD maze, I'm breaking everything. With one shaking hand, she twisted the knob. Moscow, landing zone. The transition was instant. No bright light. No warm hug from the universe. Just cold. Bitter, soul-slapping Russian winter cold. Izumi blinked, realizing she was no longer standing. She was falling. With a scream like a malfunctioning squeaky toy, Izumi plummeted 10 feet before landing directly on the head of a massive bronze statue. Her own statue. The statue. It was heroic. Glorious. Midoriya Izumi, hero of international thought acted by the new Soviet Union, the statue depicted her standing in defiance, 1 foot on a collapsed capitalism symbol, holding a pudding cup aloft like a holy artifact. A large Ashanka rested on her bronze curls, bearing the KGB emblem. The inscription read, To Comrade Gremlin, who brought back the flame of revolution with pudding and unfiltered ADHD. Supreme Council, and now, the real Izumi, very much not bronze and very much covered in almond water stink, was draped over it like an exhausted squirrel. The spectacle. A crowd was already gathered for the daily monument viewing. They gawked in awe as the statue began to move. Or rather, as the scrawny, near-mummified teen on top of it began to stir. One elderly woman screamed. A child pointed. Mama, the statue's alive. A nearby pigeon dropped its seed, mid-flight. Izumi groaned, face pressed into cold bronze. Nearest vending machine. She didn't get much farther before passing out face-first into the Ushanka crown. Emergency response. The Russian paramedics were swift and hilariously confused. "It's her," one yelled. "The pudding prophet." They loaded her into a heated ambulance like she was a national relic. Meanwhile, social media exploded. #SheLives, #GremlinReturns, #BronzeTobone, #MoscowMiracle. Meanwhile, in Japan, Katsuki was holding a tray of burnt cookies when the emergency alert pinged on Psycho's phone. She's on top of a statue of herself. In Russia. Katsuki dropped the tray. "What?" Psycho blinked. A very thin and possibly hallucinating Izumi was found clinging to her own bronze likeness in Moscow. Katsuki stared at the phone. She really does get weirder every DMN year. Back in Moscow, awakening in a hospital bed far too soft for her trauma, Izumi stirred. A nurse offered her broth and a banana. She hissed like a starving cryptid before remembering she was human again and devoured both in seconds. Officials arrived within the hour. Russian dignitaries, scientists, historians, a man dressed as Lenin. "Comrade Midoriya," one began, "you have returned. Welcome home." Izumi blinked at the speaker, then at the statue photo on the newspaper beside her. "Why the hell am I holding pudding?" The man beamed. "It was the symbol of your first speech on class struggle." She stared. "Did I do that before or after the Yutra's vibrating robot?" There was a long silence. Then the room applauded. Day 1. The feeding of the gremlin. Izumi woke to a sea of food. Not a tray. Not a plate. A buffet crammed onto rolling carts, a portable fold-out table, and 3 extension trays connected like a locomotive of nourishment. Russian doctors, unsure how someone could survive 6 months on stale crackers and almond water, had decided to throw nutrition science out the window. She lived off backrooms vending machine rot. Then we give her what she knows: soup, starch, and soft sugar bread. The menu, blini with condensed milk, borscht 3 bowls, stacked a suspicious number of pelmeni dumplings, 6 types of rye bread, a mug of almond water for comfort, not hydration, chicken Kiev the size of her head, a family-sized pudding platter, a stack of pancakes topped with whipped cream and mystery berries. Izumi blinked in slow disbelief, trying to remember how to function as a human being. "I forgot food could be warm." The first bite of soup made her eyes water. By the third, she had the posture of a praying mantis devouring prey. Nurses had to gently slow her pace so she wouldn't pass out mid-bite. "You must chew. This is the 4th bowl. Please breathe, dear." Where did she get a spoon that big? Who gave her that? Meanwhile, in Japan, the Bring Her Back delegation. Tokyo, HPSC headquarters, Situation Room. Agent Kinoshita rubbed his face. So just to summarize, Midoriya Izumi, 15, ADHD incarnate, inventor of the Yutra's VBRTR and a fusion generator by accident, reappears in Moscow, Russia, atop a bronze statue of herself, smelling like industrial cheese and sadness, and now she's being guarded by the Russian equivalent of the Secret Service. A junior analyst nodded. "Yes, sir." Also, she's being treated as a state guest. They're calling her the pudding revolutionary. God damn it. The chosen retrieval team, Inko Midoriya mother, on the verge of a mental breakdown, but packed with 6 Tupperware meals and 3 comfort blankets. Katsuki Bakugo #1 Izumi Wrangler, somehow roped into this because you caused this by inviting her to fight class, Psycho Intelli team strategist and the only person who can speak fluent Russian due to sheer spite and free time. Agent Tanaka HPSC liaison, constantly questioning his career choices. 2 diplomats there to negotiate things like, "Please return our chaos gremlin," and "We are not starting a cult. Please stop giving her more statues." Arrival in Moscow at Domodedovo International Airport, a formal Russian convoy awaited them. Inko immediately broke into a sobbing run, forcing the SRT team to jog after her as she barreled into the armored SUV. "Where's my baby?" Katsuki, arms crossed, tried to play it cool. "I bet she still smells like expired vending machine soup." Psycho opened her tablet. Russian media now refers to her as the incarnate spirit of Soviet invention, ADHD, and pudding. I cannot believe I am typing that sentence. Hospital room chaos. The door burst open. Izumi. Inko tackled her daughter with the force of a concerned mother bear. Both nearly toppled the four stand. Mom, you're squishing the soup out of me. Katsuki and Saiko entered next, Katsuki stopping at the doorframe, eyebrows raised. You look like a haunted doll. Izumi beamed, holding up a dumpling like a trophy. They gave me 14 soups. And a full turkey. Are you sure you didn't start a second Cold War by accident? Only a small one. Saiko approached the bed, glancing over Izumi's vitals. She tried and failed to hide her emotions. I translated 217 Russian news articles about you. They think you are some kind of culinary engineering messiah. But you were gone for 6 months. Izumi blinked. That explains the beard I saw on a vending machine. We're not unpacking that. Diplomatic negotiations. Gremlin extraction protocol agent Tanaka met with Russian officials while Inko fed Izumi more dumplings. We appreciate your hospitality, but she is Japanese. We'd like to return her. We understand, said one official. But perhaps she can do one more interview for state television. The nation adores her. She is a cultural hero. She made a food replicator by accident. Exactly. She is ours now. Please stop saying that. Eventually, a compromise was reached. One farewell interview. She keeps the Ushanka. The statue remains. No, she may not take the PPSH-42 back to Japan. Izumi was very upset about that last one. Night before the return flight in the hospital suite, Izumi lay cocooned in blankets, full beyond reason. Katsuki sat on a couch, arms crossed. You're a demon headache? You missed me. Shut up. Saiko was typing quietly beside her, occasionally checking Izumi's vitals. I'm glad you're back, dummy. Izumi looked up, smiling. I missed you guys. Even your grumpy face, Katsuki. Say that again and I'll dump this soup on your head. Joke's on you, it'll just hydrate me. Day 1. Back at school, the gates of Torioku Academy groaned open like the doors to a dramatic villain's lair. Students gathered in clusters, buzzing like flies around a spilled juice box. She's really back. Didn't she fall into the ground and vanish for 6 months? No, idiot. She went on a spiritual journey in Russia. The government said she re-entered from a compromised reality rift. I think she fought demons in fluorescent lighting. Dude. I heard she made food out of air. Cue the collective record scratch as Izumi Midoriya walked in through the front gates in a slightly oversized school uniform, her signature wild, frizzy green hair somehow even more unkempt than usual. Her skin was healthier now, thanks to an aggressive campaign of dumplings, vitamins, and pudding. But her eyes still flicked around like a squirrel that had been to war. She carried her bag slung over one shoulder and had what appeared to be a sealed emergency pudding cup strapped to her belt like a grenade. Flashback. That morning, are you sure you want to go back already? Inko had asked, fussing with Izumi's collar. I missed class. I gotta catch up. I'm already 3 textbooks ahead. Sweetie, that's not how that works. Also, Katsuki threatened to drag me by the ankles if I didn't go. In the background, Katsuki scowled, arms crossed. DMN right. You made a soup gun before disappearing. The teachers want to speak to you. Reality check. PTSD, but make it subtle inside the building. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead. Izumi froze mid-step. Her pupils shrank. For a brief, gut-chilling moment, her brain whispered, backrooms. She stared at the flickering light like it had declared war on her ancestors. Her hands clenched the straps of her bag so tightly the plastic creaked. Breathing slowed. Her heartbeat spiked. A hand touched her shoulder. Hey, you okay? Katsuki, standing beside her, had noticed. Izumi blinked once. Twice. Then forced a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Ah yeah. Checking if the ceiling tiles were different from the office maze of infinite doom. Katsuki didn't say anything, but subtly moved to walk slightly ahead, between her and the lights. Classroom shenanigans. Chaos returns when Izumi entered her homeroom, A collective hush fell over the class. Then absolute chaos. Holy 𝐻D, she's back. Izumi, blink twice if you escaped an alternate dimension. Did you really drink vending machine water for a month? Can you make me food from rain? Do you still have the Soviet hat? Izumi gave a little wave and smiled innocently. Hi everyone. Did I miss anything? You missed the school's economy collapsing when you vanished. You also missed 7 group projects. We may have sacrificed 1 teacher. A desk appeared beside her, cleared and polished like a shrine. Someone shoved pudding onto it reverently. It's banana-flavored. We remember your preferences. Unwanted attention, clueless mode activated despite her trauma. Izumi's return activated another strange phenomenon, teenage infatuation. Somewhere between her accidental communist TED Talk, food creation powers, and disappearing into a cursed reality, Izumi had become something of an enigmatic school legend. And today, those with secret crushes had come prepared. Case Study 1. The overconfident idiot. A boy named Haruto swaggered up to Izumi during lunch. Hey Izumi. I heard you survived on your own in a void of nightmares. That's... Izumi blinked. Oh, thanks. My intestines still haven't forgiven me. Did you know you can hallucinate from dehydration? Cool. One time I thought a printer was my dad. What? It screamed in Morse code. Haruto blinked. He opened his mouth. Closed it. I gotta go. Case Study 2. The shy girl with a plan. A girl from Class 2A, Miyuki, approached with a red face and a box of handmade chocolates. Hi Izumi. I really admire your intelligence and innovation and would you maybe want to eat these together sometime? Izumi smiled sweetly. Sure. I'll run chemical tests on them to check if they have melamine, then I can replicate them using my nutritional composition converter 9000. Miyuki. That's not quite what I meant. Izumi, do you want me to calibrate a flavor profile? Miyuki fled, tripping over her own feet. Case Study 3. The love letter guy. A mysterious letter was left in Izumi's locker. In looping calligraphy, my dearest inventor, your genius eclipses the stars. Please meet me behind the science wing. Izumi read it, then held it upside down. Then read it again. Weird formatting. She did show up, just to ask if someone needed her to fix the vending machine behind the science wing. The boy waiting for her melted into a socially anxious puddle when she smiled and handed him a packet of crackers. Meanwhile, teachers were panicking. Did she bring any devices? Not yet. But she did ask about the chemistry lab's burner efficiency. Good God. One teacher updated a digital checklist titled, Izumi Midoriya, Apocalypse Risk Level Current Status, wearing a Soviet Ushanka again. Rating, Orange. Final PRD, Philosophy Class Y. Mr. Yamane made the mistake of asking, what is reality? Izumi raised her hand. Everyone visibly flinched. Reality is just what doesn't change when you stop believing in it, she said, voice steady. Also, floors that shouldn't exist are real. So are sentient balloons. And the almond water knows your sins. There was a full 60 seconds of silence. Someone dropped their pencil. The day ends as the bell rang and the students packed up. Saiko and Katsuki stood outside the school gates waiting for her. Izumi skipped up, smiling. I made 3 new friends. One of them gave me chocolate. It may contain arsenic. Saiko sighed. Katsuki rubbed his temples. You're a menace. A well-fed menace. It was an average school day, typical chaos. The halls echoed with chatter, the soft scrape of shoes on the floor, the clatter of lockers opening and closing. Izumi had just sat down at her lunch table with Katsuki and Saiko, her stomach still adjusting to being fed properly again after her harrowing months in the backrooms. The greasy chips she had been consuming were a distant memory. Now, the world offered her real food, and she was determined to enjoy every bit of it. However, that moment of blissful normalcy was shattered when she reached for the cup of water on her tray. Her hand gripped the cool plastic, the clear liquid shimmering invitingly. She took a sip. It didn't taste like water. The sharp, metallic bitterness hit her immediately. Her body stiffened. The world seemed to tilt. Her throat closed up. Her breath faltered. A flash, an image of herself, thinner than she'd ever been, huddled in a corner, trembling, clutching a bottle of water she didn't remember getting. The water was murky. But it wasn't just that, it wasn't water at all. It was a toxic, sour liquid. She could almost taste the almondy aftertaste creeping in, wrapping around her throat. Her body grew weak, disoriented, eyes blurry. She could hear the faint hum of fluorescent lights. A low, distant growl, then dark shadows looming. Her hands went clammy. Her heart raced. She was back. Back in that cold, cruel place. Katsuki's voice suddenly cut through the disorienting haze. "Izumi," he shouted, snapping his fingers in front of her face. Izumi blinked, her chest heaving as she struggled to take in the surroundings. The cafeteria. The laughter. The chatter. The banal normalcy. She was safe. She was back in Japan, surrounded by familiar faces. But her mind wasn't quite there yet. "Izumi!" Katsuki barked again, his voice breaking her spiraling thoughts. "What the hell is wrong with you? You look like you've seen a ghost." She blinked rapidly, sweat forming on her brow. Almond water. It had happened again. She was back in that place, staring down the dark hallways of the backrooms, where everything seemed wrong. Nothing was as it seemed. The food, the water, the light, it had all been tainted. She could taste the stale, bitter flavor of almond water in her mouth again. Her hands shook. Her stomach lurched. Her heart pounded against her chest like a drumbeat, drowning out the noise around her. For a moment, everything felt too overwhelming. Izumi stared at the water in her cup, the same almond water she had been forced to drink during those endless days, and the walls seemed to close in. "Izumi," Saiko's voice was soft now, her hand gently touching Izumi's arm. "You okay? It's just regular water." Izumi swallowed. Her chest tightened. Slowly, she let go of the cup, her shaking hand retreating. "Yeah," she whispered, voice barely audible. "Yeah, I'm fine." But she wasn't fine. The next several moments were a blur as her mind tried to clear itself. She didn't want to be this weak. She didn't want to have these moments anymore. She wanted to move on, to be okay again, to not feel like she was always one step away from losing control. And then, like SWs flipping in her brain, she realized something else. I need to create something. I need to make something to distract myself. Something fun. Something that will make me feel like me again. The food idea, the taco miracle. Izumi's eyes suddenly sparkled, and her focus narrowed as she looked at her lunch tray. Katsuki and Saiko exchanged glances, but they said nothing. This was classic Izumi. She was the type to zone out one moment, then hit gold the next. "I'm going to make something," Izumi murmured. The two of them gave her an odd look, but neither interrupted. They had learned by now that when Izumi had an idea, she had an idea. She picked up a hard taco shell from her tray. Her eyes were wild, scanning the contents of the cafeteria. Saiko and Katsuki knew that look. She was about to make something weird. "Okay, so, taco shell, right? But we're not stopping there. I'm thinking," she trailed off, eyes drifting toward the marinara sauce someone had left abandoned on a counter. "Marinara. Pepperoni," she muttered to herself. "Wait, sausage. That'll make it perfect." The chaos in her mind snapped into place. Without further thought, Izumi grabbed the ingredients from various trays across the cafeteria, earning a few puzzled looks. It was an improvised feast. "I'm going to make a taco pie," she declared. She filled the taco shell with a thick layer of marinara sauce, then added shredded cheese, followed by small chunks of sausage and scattered pepperoni slices. "Gonna bake it," she muttered, adjusting the mess she'd made. Baking it in the cafeteria. The ovens weren't exactly equipped for experimentation. But Izumi, ever the relentless force of nature, didn't care. She spent the next few minutes hacking away at the kitchen's primitive baking facilities, setting the oven temperature and pushing everything into the right place. Her hands worked with the precision of a surgeon, as if she'd done this 1,000 times before. As the taco dish cooked, she turned to her friends, her eyes twinkling like stars. "This is going to be amazing." The result, Taco perfection after a few tense minutes. The oven dinged, and Izumi quickly retrieved her creation. She lifted the perfectly golden, crispy taco pie, its marinara bubbling from the cheese and sausage, the pepperoni slightly charred, giving it that crispy edge. The smell filled the air, an almost magical aroma that made the entire cafeteria pause and look her way. What the hell is that? Katsuki's eyebrows furrowed. That's not a taco. That's a thing. It's a masterpiece, Izumi said proudly, beaming like a kid who had just invented a new planet. She cut a piece with what could only be described as religious reverence, then took a bite. Her face lit up like a Christmas tree. Holy hell, she gasped. This is amazing. It's like pizza and a taco had a baby, and that baby was the best food ever created. Why has nobody done this before? This is revolutionary. The aftermath, the cafeteria was quiet for a moment, the other students looking at Izumi as if she had just brought caviar from the future. Katsuki, who'd just taken a skeptical bite, immediately began muttering. Okay, fine. This is pretty damn good. Psycho, ever the voice of reason, had taken a bite too. She glanced at Izumi, impressed. I think you just broke physics. Izumi, still holding her taco pie, gave them a serene look. This is my peace offering to the world. The bell rang, signaling the end of lunch. But no one could forget the sheer chaotic brilliance of Izumi's creation. Taco pie was now a legend. Izumi Midoriya, back in her element, had once again changed the world in her own, weird, inexplicable way. And, for a moment, it felt like nothing else had the power to hurt her. Not the flashbacks. Not the memories of the backrooms. Just food. And, for once, a real connection to the world around her. Age, 16 location, high school prep division at this point. No one quite understood how Machi, the seemingly immortal emotional support cat, was still alive. Nearly 14 years old and still moving with the sprightliness of a kitten, Machi was the stuff of legend. Her fur was still plush, her eyes as sharp as ever, and her ability to calm down a literal case study of quirk-induced ADHD was baffling every veterinarian, biologist, and quirk researcher in Japan. Rumors around you. Prep were spreading like wildfire. Some students swore Machi was a deity in disguise. Others believed Machi had been the product of one of Izumi's accidental inventions. One bold first year even started a conspiracy board in the common room labeled Project Immortal Cat, complete with string and red pins. And as for Izumi Midoriya, she was exactly the same despite everything. Still sweet enough to give everyone metaphorical cavities, still bursting with too much energy to contain, and still dangerously brilliant. But now with a slightly gaunt look from the 6-month survival tour in the backrooms, and an occasional 1,000-yard stare whenever she smelled almond water. She had tried to attend school like nothing happened, utterly convinced that her extended vacation underground was just something people shrug off. Her cheerful re-entry into school life was marked by her walking into her homeroom, waving excitedly and shouting, "Hi everyone. I'm back. I got chased by a dog with a human face and made soup out of ceiling tiles. How's everyone else been?" To her it was Tuesday. To everyone else, it was trauma. Meanwhile, in the classroom the only thing more confusing than Machi's eternal youth was how completely, utterly, heartbreakingly oblivious Izumi was to being flirted with. Every day had become a comedy show titled, "How do you flirt with the girl who thinks you're offering her a snack?" Boys and girls alike were falling left and right for her. One girl complimented her hair and handed her a handmade chocolate truffle. "Izumi, wow, is this caramel-filled?" "Thank you, I love this." Girl blushes so hard she nearly passes out. Izumi hands over a cookie in return like a golden retriever who just found treasure. A third year gave her a love letter. Izumi read it aloud, declared it was a really fun poem, and pinned it to the classroom wall because everyone needs a bit of literary sunshine. One boy tried a pickup line. "Boy, you must be made of copper and tellurium because you're Seiyutei." Izumi, I love elements. You want to see my periodic table plushies? Boy, deceased. Every attempt failed spectacularly. Mostly because Izumi's brain registered any form of flirtation as Compliment kindness, gift snack emotional vulnerability, must offer hugs physical closeness, oh we're playing tag. Lunch table chaos, psycho Intelli had her head in her hands. How does she not realize? That girl literally kissed Izumi on the cheek. Katsuki Bakugo, hunched beside her with a tray of mystery meat and exactly one vegetable, shrugged. You think logic works on her? I designed a 76-step. Stuck an algorithm and she thought it was a dance challenge, Psycho muttered. Izumi, at that exact moment, slid into the seat between them holding a bag of Machi's custom-made food pellets. She refused to let the cafeteria feed her cat without a chemical analysis first. Guys, I taught Machi how to open the dorm doors. She's unstoppable now. Katsuki grunted. She always was. Psycho sighed. So, your cat's a super soldier, your brain runs on 6 teraflops per second, and you're still oblivious to being confessed to a total of 12 times this month. Izumi blinked. Wait, people have been confessing to me. What did I do? Katsuki slowly turned to her. Exist. Later that day, Izumi, now wearing a lab coat she definitely wasn't cleared to bring into school, had convinced the robotics club to help her build a high-frequency cat massager for Machi. It vibrated on 17 frequencies and doubled as a bread warmer. The teacher just walked away muttering, I don't get paid enough to question this. Final scene, the immortal cat that evening, after a long day of inventing, surviving accidental flirtation, and somehow teaching the PE teacher about orbital mechanics using water balloons, Izumi collapsed onto her bed. Machi curled beside her, purring softly. Good girl, Machi, she whispered. You're the best emotional support cat ever. Machi blinked slowly, tail flicking once as if to say, you have no idea, human. It all began with the humble intention to create a miniature trebuchet. But because Izumi had eaten a sugar-crusted croissant, taken one sip of highly caffeinated bubble tea, and loudly declared in the hallway, I must now fulfill my dream of launching cream puffs over the school wall. No one stopped her. No one could stop her. By the time the last PRD bell rang, Izumi had taken over Lab Room 3B, written a 12-page physics formula set on the whiteboard, hijacked the 3D printer, and was in the process of wiring something. That something had a gyro stabilizer, a thermal regulator, and about 50 pieces of scrap metal. She muttered to herself, it needs more green and a little pew-pew energy. That should have been the red flag. 1 hour later, Psycho Intelli returned from the library. Katsuki Bakugo had been reluctantly bribed into helping Izumi with the structural integrity. By helping, he meant glowering from the corner and yelling when something sparked. Psycho entered the lab and immediately paused. That's not a trebuchet. Nope. Izumi chirped. The math decided it wanted to be a different shape. That's not how math works, Izumi. That looks like a handheld directed energy weapon. Izumi held up the gleaming green monstrosity, glowing coils, a transparent chamber humming with plasma, and an ominous power gauge blinking on the side. The front end had what looked suspiciously like an energy dispersal unit. It makes WhatIf sounds, she grinned. Did you just build a literal plasma weapon? Psycho hissed. Katsuki stood up slowly, pointing at the device with the solemnity of a soldier facing judgment. That is a goddamn particle disintegrator. I wanted to launch cream puffs, Izumi muttered, slightly confused. Now it melts lockers. Demonstration pending. Minutes later, in the courtyard, no one could say they weren't warned. Behold, the Trebuzap 5000. Izumi declared, aiming at a conveniently empty metal trash can 20 meters away. With a flip of SWH and a cheerful BZZT, the trash can vanished in a puff of glowing air and molten residue. Someone screamed. The HPSC agents arrive again. By this point, the Hero Public Safety Commission had Izumi tagged alerts on all public safety scanners. The moment a concentrated plasma burst hit the school lawn, 5 agents rappelled from a helicopter that hadn't even landed. Agent Tokunaga took one look at the still-smoking plasma scorch mark and muttered, I owe Tanaka 10,000 yen. He bet she'd invent a railgun before spring. Meanwhile, Izumi was happily explaining to a mortified science teacher that she really only meant to fling sweet pastries. That night, the true chaos begins while the HPSC argued over which department was responsible for unintentional weapons of mass destruction born from pastry-related physics. Izumi was in her dorm suite, giving Machi a tummy rub. "I don't get it," she sighed, lying on the floor next to her cat. "Why is it so hard to launch a croissant using basic siege mechanics without opening a rift in atomic theory?" Machi chirped softly in reply. Then she stood up, and to Izumi's complete shock, promptly gave brilliance to 4 kittens. "Izumi." EXE has stopped responding. "What? How, when you're immortal, can immortal cats get quirk? The first kitten mewed softly. It was white with a black-tipped tail. The second had extra toes. The third immediately fell asleep on Izumi's sleeve. The fourth stared directly into her soul like it knew calculus. Minutes later, dorm common area Saiko and Katsuki arrived to find Izumi sitting cross-legged on the couch, covered in kittens. Her hair was a mess, her face was pale with confusion, and she was cradling one tiny furball while whispering, "I don't know how biology works anymore." Katsuki looked between the kittens and the plasma rifle on the table. "You created life and a war crime in the same day." "I didn't mean to." Izumi wailed. One of the kittens bit her hair. Another climbed her leg. Machi calmly began grooming herself like this was all according to plan. Final scene, a new international crisis again across the globe. Footage of Izumi's plasma rifle demonstration had, of course, been leaked. The UN passed an emergency resolution titled the Midoriya Protocol, banning unauthorized pastry physics. Meanwhile, Russia sent a congratulatory basket of pudding. And the HPSC. They just sat in a dark room with coffee, staring at footage of kittens swarming Izumi while a plasma rifle hummed next to her on the couch. Agent Tanaka. "Sir, she created plasma weaponry and then immediately created a family of magical cats." "Director, we're not paid enough for this."